This podcast is brought to you by the Arate Media Pantheon. Please head to aratemedia.org to see lots of other podcasts from our great friends. Plus, if you want to start your own podcast, they can provide you with the tools and resources to do so there. So please head to aratemedia.org. That's ARETE media.org. On with the show, Jordan?
On with the show. This is it.
Also, this is your reminder that the link to aratemedia.org, as always, is in the link in the description. Is in the description below, so you can click that. It'll take you there. I feel the need to remind people of that periodically. They are wonderful support for the show. Let's begin.
Speaking of, Arete Media says, "Ooh, I like Justin's NPR voice."
My NPR voice. Is that what it's called? I nail that intro every week. On today's show, I've got a couple trailers. One of which I didn't even bother watching because I was like, it's probably going to be bad. That's a Batman Ninja sequel. There's a Wolfman trailer. We're going to talk about The Lord of the Rings Hunt for Gollum, which apparently only going to be one movie. There's a new Tron video game. We saw a Invincible Season 3 trailer, and it made me kind of mad. And we're going to find out what Krypto looks like. Let's start with that. Jordan, what do you think Krypto, the super dog, looks like? Or did you see him? Did you see what he looked like?
Do you mean generally, or is this in reference to something specific?
This is in reference to that new Superman movie. James Gunn put out an image of...
Arete Media says, "Oh, right, you're Canadian. NPR equals National Public Radio."
I know what NPR is.
I didn't.
I used to actually fun fact. I used to listen. That's not me being indignant. But I have culture.
I appreciate the explanation because I had no idea what that was.
Not NPR. Sorry, I used to listen to TED Talks every week when I used to commute into Langley. I used to listen to not NPR, but I am familiar with NPR. I like their Tiny Desk series, where they have people play music at a tiny desk with instruments.
Okay.
I realized as I went, I know NPR. That sounded like I was being indignant. I was not.
That's fair.
Yeah, it's sort of like CBC radio. Remember Stuart McLean?
But for American?
Yeah, but for America. Yeah, for Jordan. Okay. So Jordan understands what it's like. Or it's maybe a bit more highbrow than CKNW.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, Krypto, eh?
Krypto. Yes, James Gunn revealed that.
I assume that he has to be what is he normally, a white lab, I think?
Interesting. So you know what he's supposed to look like. Interesting. He is not. He is why does this article not have the picture?
I don't remember specifically the kind of dog. I just know that he's white.
He is
and I think he's normally a lab.
He looks like he's a little doodle. He's not a lab. He's a little doodle, a little like golden poodle or doodle or something. Apparently, he's based on a dog that James Gunn met while he was filming the movie. I'm just shocked Krypto is in this thing. Like that shows.
Arete says he's a black lab. I'm pretty sure he's normally white though.
Depends on the version. In this article he's a white lab.
The version that I picture is he's like a white lab. That's the one that I'm aware of.
The picture in this article he's a white lab, but I think he's one of those characters where it depends on who's drawing him.
That's fair.
I'm surprised he's in this.
I mean, yeah, that's cool. I don't want to say I don't care enough about, but I don't have enough of a nostalgia for Krypto, the super dog, to really.
No, my thing is always
he can be whatever kind of dog. He just has to be a dog that has Superman's powers.
Yeah. My thing is like, does that mean we're gonna get like Bat or Ace the Bat Hound in one of these future ones, or like there's another one. I can't remember what his name is, but he's a monkey. He's Superman, but he's a monkey. Like, there's a bunch of different versions of them. It's funny. That just is kind of for me, Krypto, that's a deep cut. Like, your mainstream audiences aren't going to care about Krypto. Like, that's for
hold on. Arete Media says that damn producer Kevin Smith talks about it again. He's giving him a little, and the rest is underneath the emoji thing, so I can't see it. Giving him a little gay dog, lol.
I mean, hey, I understand people want the lab. I like a lab, but like, yeah, I'm with Jordan. I'm not like attached to Crypto in anywhere where I'm like, man, as long as he's a super dog.
I mean,
I
for
like
me,
all
it's one of
dogs.
those
All dogs are cool by me.
for me, it's like, yeah, I'd prefer him to be the lab or even like a golden retriever or a husky would be cool. Um, but I'm just kind of glad he's not a chihuahua.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, he's not a Chihuahua. That's what's important. Ah, no
So,
love for the poor Chihuahua. Oops. Why do I keep doing
no,
that?
a chihuahua is a little rat, Justin. And
I
I
mean,
had rats. I love rats. Rats are great.
but
But
it is indeed a little rat. So,
Arete said you said it was a doodle.
well, it looks like a little doodle. It's like, hold on. We're gonna take a chance. I'm gonna pull up the image on the stream. Okay, stick with me. Stick with me while I do this. Okay. 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 This is rare. Okay. Crypto. I can't spell crypto, John. Crypto.
Krypto, I believe.
There we go. Crypto. Okay. Okay. Images. There it is. There's the image. Can you see that on stream?
It's catching up.
Okay. Let me know when it catches up.
You're still searching for it currently.
We're looking into the past, folks.
Oh, I'm looking into the past. I can't speak for the people that are actually watching this and will then a couple minutes later hear me describing how we've gone into the past.
I mean, to be fair, for our poor audio listeners, I'm currently looking at an image of Superman and a dog.
I am now. I don't know that that's a doodle.
I don't know how else would you describe it? I love a little hair puff. I'm a big fan of the hair
Yeah,
puff.
I don't know exactly what that would be.
I just think I like it because it's cute.
When you say doodle, I guess I picture like a golden doodle or what our friend had.
Yeah.
And that's not what that is. So I don't know what that would be.
I don't know. Jake, what's what kind of dog is
I'm
that?
not well versed. I'm not well versed enough in dogs.
Before we leave the image, and we move on. Hopefully he's still in the chat. He can be like, it's not a doodle, it's a blank. Not a poodle. That much I would say. I think I may have said
it's
poodle.
It's not a poodle. He did say when I was catching up with the image, he did say a lab of any kind is a respectable dog for Superman.
Yeah, I look.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that is. It makes me think of more like a sheep herding dog.
Yeah, it's definitely a smaller dog for sure.
Which to me fits because he's on a farm.
Yeah. He's a smaller to mid-sized dog. Maybe not. To be fair, the picture doesn't really illustrate exactly how big he is based upon how Superman's sitting. Like I said, it's Crypto. Like the fact that it's got Crypto the super dog makes it leaps and bounds better than the.
He said, "I have no idea what that is, so I can only assume Superman adopted Crypto. In which case, mad respect."
Yeah. Well, he's based on an adopt. Hold on, let me see if it says in this article that I've got pulled up here. Crypto was inspired by our dog Uzu, who we adopted shortly after I started writing Superman. Uzu, who came from a hoarding situation in a backyard with 60 other dogs and never knew human beings, was problematic to say the least. He immediately came in and destroyed our home, our shoes, our furniture. He even ate my laptop. It took me a long time before he would even let us touch him. I remember thinking, gosh, how difficult would it be if Ozu had superpowers? And that's when Crypto came into the script. That's a fun story. That's a fun story. Yeah, it's building hype for me because I'm like, that's Superman. Like, everything I'm getting from this movie, I'm like, he understands
humanizing
Superman.
Him more.
Yeah, what she needs. Like, this is feeling more Richard Donner than it is Zack Snyder, and I am okay with that.
Arete says, "I rescind my criticism. No notes."
Yeah. It's
look, man. To me, Crypto just has to be a white dog who isn't like a tiny little like wimpy thing.
Yeah.
And so like This one looks like it lived. This
Not like a
I
Shih
can't think
Tzu.
of. No, I can't think of what the dog breed is. I think it's called like an Australian sheep herder.
Yeah, a
Um,
border collie or whatever.
border collie. Like that's kind of what it's making me feel, and
Yeah,
I'm getting like the
it's
border collie vibe.
definitely giving me those vibes.
Which to
But
me,
it does have like a
again,
tramp like feel
knowing
to it though, for sure.
like knowing that Superman grows up on a farm, Clark Kent grows up on a farm, it kind of just makes more sense to me that he would have like a sheep herding dog or like a farm dog.
Yeah.
And that's what that image, that one solitary single image anyway. That's what that gives me. The only big notable thing for me with Crypto that I can say is I know he's usually a white dog.
Yeah, it's my thing. He's usually a white something. Um so Jake, being that you are equally as critical of the Zack Snyder oeuvre, DC oeuvre, um, are you excited for this? I'm getting more excited with it I'm getting more excited about it the more I hear from it. I mean, I was already pretty into it because I love James Gunn. I love what he does with superheroes. He does schmaltz so good. Like his stuff is truly schmaltzy, but it works for me. And I love it. And Superman desperately needs that. Like, there's just an entire generation of kids who just don't understand Superman. Like in the way that there's an entire generation of kids who just don't understand the Transformers. Like, out the back of our Transformers 1 review, my For You page was just like, well, no, my For You page on TikTok was inundated with people trying to convince me that those movies are good. And as someone who had to watch all 7 of them in a week in a row, Jordan, are they?
Oh, they're bad, man.
They're bad
Those
movies.
are bad.
They're bad movies.
They're bad.
But there's so many people who are like Dark of the Moon, which is one of the worst ones, by the way, is one of the greatest examples of cinema of our time. Fucking what?
No, they have the problem is those. Yeah, you're right. Those kids only have Michael Bay movies to compare to.
They grew
so like
up
yeah,
on it.
maybe compared to one of the other ones, then you might. But no, they're bad, man.
Like, I saw a
like
video.
They're bad movies. Also, sorry, Arete Media said I didn't know anything about it until I watched this podcast. So lol.
Fair enough. Yeah, I've been keeping up on it because I dislike Zack Snyder, and well, to be fair, I think it's because I've just taken a lot of shit from Snyder Bros over the years, so it's always fun to watch them cry.
Yeah, I DC has been dead to me for a while, so other than when you mention the stuff, I really don't pay attention to them. So I'm at this point, I'm kind of in the same camp as Arete Media, where it's like, like I'm hesitatingly interested.
My
Like
thing is,
I really want it to be good, and I want to like it, and I want to wipe the slate clean for
Yeah.
DC and go in and with a fresh pair of eyes. But I'm so worn, much the same as I was when we had Bumblebee come out. I was so worn down by the Michael Bay Transformers movies that it's hard to give something a fresh chance. Right?
I think that's a great comparison, because I think that's what will happen with that movie. People will go into it, they'll watch it, they'll be like, it's good, it's pretty good, and in like a year, it'll be like appreciated like Bumblebee was, where it's like, no, this really is one of the best like Superman movies. It's up there with the Donner stuff. Arete
Media says, I will say the Snyder Cut is not good.
It's not good.
I mean, I would argue very few of the movies in the DC extended universe were good.
I said it
adequate. Adequate, maybe. Good is...
It's overindulgent garbage, but I'm like, hey man, it hits all the notes it should hit, but like it had 4 hours to do so that's not really fair. Like,
it learned from the mistake of the previous iteration.
Yeah, it had the benefit of hindsight. My thing,
it
going forward,
better than it was.
I'm honestly more excited for the DC stuff than I am for the Marvel stuff, because I'm not convinced that Marvel stuff is going to happen. I'm just not. I'm on the edge of finding out it's all going to collapse at any moment, and we'll never see Spider-Man 4. Speaking of Spider-Man 4, Justin's good at segueing.
We're gonna have to disagree there. I mean, Wonder Woman is good. Batman versus Superman is not good.
Ooh,
no,
very bad. Who's saying it's good?
Arete Media. He says, but Batman versus Superman is good. Wonder Woman is good. And then he said Green Lantern could have been good.
Ooh, yeah, no, I disagree with that. I've seen way too many think pieces about how like that. I mean, I could go into great detail about how he doesn't understand Batman or Superman. Superman, what he did to Superman in those movies, it's like an arc of bad. And like the only good moment in that franchise for Superman is at the end of the Joss Whedon cut when Joss Whedon completely changed the character back into actually being Superman. So yeah, no, yeah, that movie's a dour, upsetting. Just, but maybe I have to go back and maybe I'll do an episode where you know what? Let me cook, because I might have to revisit that one myself and see if I really do think it's as bad as I remember it being.
It's bad.
My thing is, I just remember
it's upsettingly
there's
bad.
like one moment where he's got Lex Luthor on the roof, where Lex Luthor is threatening him, and I'm like, he snapped necks for less.
I mean, I'm just saying.
Speaking of Marvel, let's do Marvel.
Sorry, yeah, to go back to your comment about being more excited for DC versus the Marvel stuff. I'll read your comment in a second there, Arete. To get back to that real quick, though, I am only insofar of the fact that DC, yeah, this is kind of a fresh slate, whereas with Marvel, ignoring the we might not get this, we might not get that stuff, whatever we do end up getting will largely just be the same that we've gotten for the past
like
what,
my
10
friends
years?
are describing Agatha all along to me, and I'm just like,
I have no interest in that show. I can't even.
It has some interesting ideas that follow up from WandaVision. I will give it that. It's an origin story for a character that sounds kind of interesting, but nah.
No, I'm good. I'll pass. Sorry to go back to Arete's comment though. He says Schneider doesn't understand Superman. However, he does get Dark Knight Returns Batman, which is my favorite. Not my favorite, but he gets it.
Right, but the thing is
that it's not earned in that movie.
It's not earned, right? That movie takes for granted. The thing with Dark Knight Returns is the reason why that story works and that confrontation between Batman and Superman works is because that's based upon years and years of having a established relationship between the two. They've known each other for like 20 years. So him finally beating Superman is a big deal. This is the first time they're meeting. So that movie requires you to just understand things inherent to Batman. So you're like, oh, you understand that it's bad that Batman kills in that movie because you know that inherently that Batman doesn't kill. But we don't know that about this version of Batman, right? For all we know, because we haven't seen him ever. For all we know, he does do murders. Like, we don't know. This could be a weird alternate universe where Batman, it is a weird alternate universe where superheroes do murders. But we just don't know. So it's like it's taking a lot for granted narratively that you just understand these things. And yeah,
that's not. I'll read that comment in a second. But that's ignoring the fact too that I hate what Jesse Eisenberg did with Luthor.
That's not even mentioning Luthor.
That's not even like that's
the
just
poor
that's
bastardization
just about,
of Apocalypse.
That's just talking about the technical things that are bad with that movie and not touching on the things that I just generally hate.
Yeah.
But then Arete says, but pertaining to the topic of this episode, Editor Jake is the best slasher. And then he said, we can do a whole episode debating the merits of Batman v Superman. Lol.
I've been November. See, the reason why I go let me cook them. I've been sitting on doing a Batman specific episode, which we missed Batman Day, but because there's a lot of that animated stuff that I haven't seen, like the Crisis on Infinite Earths. I want to watch that. So I've been
watching the new show that came out.
Yeah, there's that. There's a bunch of new Batman. There's the Penguin. There's like a bunch of new Batman and Batman adjacent shit. Where it's like, yeah, I could watch Batman versus Superman again. So in November, I might do a Batman episode.
And then you might have to have Arete Media on to defend it because you and I will absolutely spend 20 minutes ripping that movie apart.
Well, I mean, it's gonna come a lot of my takedowns of that movie.
He says, "Ooh, sign me up for Batman if you're inviting people."
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. November, so 2 weeks from now, maybe, probably. We need a nice, easy topic. That's fun out the back of, and I'd like to watch some Batman movies.
This month has been a lot.
It's been a parade of misery. That's for sure. But anyway,
I,
what
I
is?
will do. I will agree to the Batman if you allow me to do some Justice League stuff too.
Yeah, no, because I want to do all three parts of Crisis. The new
Okay.
Crisis movie. I want to watch that.
Yeah.
That's on my
Yeah.
list of things I want to watch. So, like anything now, I don't have free time, so I need to work it into a show. So fuck it. November 1st, first episode out the back of. Well, I'll have to negotiate with
Well,
Jake's schedule,
we'll uh,
but
we'll iron out the
it's
details
coming
about
after the
it.
family friendly Halloween stuff next week because my God, I need to do some family friendly Halloween stuff.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll
Anyway,
get there.
what does Tom Holland have to say about Spider-Man 4? This went wildly off the rails. Oh, classic Jake. Jake, we're the problem. Um, there's an episode of Haley's podcast that came out where me and her we did some promo for the network, and like yeah, it wound up being over like an hour and a half, 2 hours long because we're the problem. Um, my
I mean,
goodness.
I've known you're the problem for years, but
Yeah,
it's nice that the internet can now learn
yeah, the
that.
internet knows that I'm the problem. Yeah. So Jordan, apparently Spider-Man 4 is happening. I think we talked about it. Spider-Man 4 is happening. Apparently there's a script. It's not ready yet, according to Tom Holland. He's given this update. That's the story.
So I've heard about this, and I just want to briefly mention I saw one on it popped up on my Facebook, and I saw one funny comment that I knew that I wanted to mention because I knew you were going to mention in this here, and it said something to the effect of, "Oh no, he didn't read the script. They gave him like a phony script because the second he reads the script, all of us will know what's in that movie."
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Well, apparently I've seen a few funny clips floating around. I saw someone who had a comment that said Andrew Garfield is being cagey about Spider-Man again. So that and he's in New York, so that means something. Um,
Haley Marcus says Jake has a knack for going off topic.
we look, Haley. I'm not gonna stand here. I would be hypocritical of me to hassle Jake about that because I am just as bad.
Oh yeah.
It's a credit. It's a credit to anything that I managed to keep this as on the rails as I do.
Hey,
Um,
that's why do you think I'm here? Because I have to
yeah,
help with
yeah.
that
Jordan's the one who really keeps it on the rails, if I'm being honest.
a lot
Um,
of the time.
but yeah, so apparently him and Zendaya have read it, and I'm really hoping she's not in it. There's all sorts of rumors that she said she doesn't want to be in it if it's only going to be like a cameo thing. I heard one rumor. We don't deal in rumors here, but every once in a while we talk about them. I saw one rumor that that was like it's going to be like she is there, but she's not really the main like she's only kind of there, and he has a new there's a new secondary love interest and a new group of friends.
Um. So okay, I I don't care if she's there one way or the other. She could be there. She could not be there. It doesn't bother me. Um. But real quick, Haley said, "I never said you weren't bad either. You did it too."
I'm also the problem.
But to go back to the Zendaya thing, I don't feel strongly one way or the other. If she's there, I really would only want her to be there to do the typical Gwen Stacy death.
Yeah, or I mean, it would undercut her, and Ned coming back would undercut the ending of the last movie so bad. And I understand it's what these movies do, but I would just like for once for it to not do that. Clean slate. None of the characters from the previous trilogy come back. It's just Tom Holland. There's new characters. Like, don't bring them back. Don't undercut this memory spell. Only the only reason why we would be okay with it is because like if they did undercut it, the one reason I'd be okay with it is if it was to explain the wonky like rules of that spell, because it was like yeah, the spell was kind of confusing. I will give it that.
See, I don't think okay. If she did come back, I don't necessarily think that Peter and her would even interact. I could see it being a thing, and this is probably where she's like she doesn't want to come back and do this, but I could see it being a thing where part of the movie is Peter learning to let go. Basically, like he's stalking her as Spider-Man, following her around, protecting her, keeping her safe. And like she has no idea who he is or what's going on, and he has to learn to let go of it. That's the only way I could really see them bringing her back.
My
But
thing is,
I don't see her and Peter actually being together.
This thing is supposedly like this. So okay, so that leads me, I guess, in part to Venom 3. The directors of Venom 3 have said that Null isn't like the main bad guy of that movie, and that they're really just teeing him up to be explored later. Which I'm like, yeah, we knew that. You could tell. You could tell that sequence that he's in that trailer is just like the one scene in the movie he's in, and he's like obscured, and you don't really see him. So apparently,
he's in that movie so that they can then, like, after this movie, do a Null movie.
yeah,
That's why he's there.
well, I saw people be like make this point that that he's not really a Spider-Man villain. He's having him
He's
fight.
more of a Venom. He's a Venom villain.
He's a Venom villain. Yeah, he's never really fought Spider-Man, so to have him fight Spider-Man wouldn't really make any sense. And my thing is like, if they do a thing where it's like they bring all three of them back and they all get a Venom symbiote suit, like, no, too much.
No, from what I understand,
too much.
From what I understand, that's the exact thing that
Sony wants to do.
Yeah, but what's his name doesn't.
Yeah, Marvel doesn't want to do this. Sony wants to do that because Sony always
not even Marvel. I mean Tom Holland. Like, Tom Holland is basically been like, we don't want to overdo what made the third one so good.
Yeah, exactly. And I completely agree.
To me, is his way of saying we don't really want to keep having all three Spider-Men. It cheapens that
right.
What made the third one,
because Sony that's what made the money.
Yeah, but Sony is dumb and should not be trusted.
I mean, Sony is dumb. What they should do is make the low budget, low scale, like really slash the budget in like half. Do a real low budget, like Hong Kong style, like action movie where it's a Daredevil Spider-Man team up movie and it's real low budget. Do that movie. Make it a bit grittier. Give it a bit of grit.
I'm all for the low budget, like having it be a street level thing again. I don't want him to team up with Daredevil.
Him and Daredevil versus Kingpin. That's what I want.
No, let's do that movie, but just cut out Daredevil. Have it be Spider-Man versus Kingpin.
Nah.
And cut out Daredevil.
I want Daredevil. Have it where Kingpin creates the Sinister Six and Daredevil and the actual Sinister Six this time. Have Scorpion be there and have it where Daredevil and Spider-Man have to team up and fight.
That all sounds great, but I don't see. No, Daredevil really doesn't need to be there for that.
I completely disagree. He does. I want him there.
That's a Spider-Man story. That's not a Daredevil story. We don't really.
Daredevil can.
We don't need Daredevil. If anything, I would much rather he team up with Johnny Storm from the Fantastic Four.
I mean, yes, but that's not happening anytime soon. But no, that's what I want. I want him and Daredevil. I want that. I want the Spider-Man Daredevil team up movie we were promised. But I would also take the three Spider-Man. They Venom is there. They Venom and Spider-Man team up and they fight. No, I'd be cool with that.
That'd be cool. I'm good with there being no Daredevil.
Weird specific beef against Daredevil. Daredevil doesn't deserve this. He deserves to be in the spotlight. He deserves the attention.
I just think he's a boring character.
I mean, but he's not.
But he is. Anyway.
Also, in a real bummer news, apparently that Daredevil show that was supposed to be 22 episodes is now only going to be 9 episodes.
So it's going to be bad.
Boo and yuck.
Any show that has that few episodes is doomed to failure as far as I'm concerned.
Good. They've never been good.
They're never satisfactory because you don't have enough time to build up a good story.
Right. But I couldn't find anything confirming that, so I don't know if that's true. Invincible season 3. There's a trailer came out.
I don't think I've watched season 2. You
should. It's pretty good. It's honestly pretty good. But they did it.
I don't remember the last time I watched that. Maybe I should catch up on that.
Their trailers for their seasons are kind of fun, where they have two of the characters sit in a coffee shop and basically be like, "Dude, what's been going on? Where have you been?" Like, "Oh, this is what's been going on." And in this one, they're like, "You need to get this shit out faster." And then at the end of it, he's like, "Fine, well, I got to train. You got to train to get better. You got to make it out, have it come out faster." So it's coming out in like November, I think, of next year. Hold on.
So why are you upset then? You want it out faster.
Hold on. Of course, this article's not going to actually say. It was sometime next year. Um, sometime relatively soon. No, what irritated me was when they were like, well, both irritated me and I went good for them when they were like at the end of the trailer. There's a little thing that says no season break this time, and I'm kind of
Oh,
like,
good.
I'm like good, but also fuck you a little bit. Like you don't get to make a joke of it. You did the thing and took an absolute drubbing for it on the internet. Like that's not you owning it. That's you. That's I don't know. I just don't like the tone of that. I don't know if that makes sense.
I mean, that's fair, but by that same token,
Good.
they've given into your demands, so
I know, but they weren't they didn't they weren't conciliatory enough for me. I would like them to beg. No, I'm kidding.
they
I was-
didn't they didn't get, they didn't bend the knee enough for you.
no, not enough knee was bent. So Jordan,
Okay.
so obviously, apparently, with the success of Terrifier 3, we now talk Terrifier 4. And according to Damien Leone, the creator and director of that franchise, it will be an epic finale, uh, concluding the saga of Art the Clown, which I'd heard that he was talking 2 movies, but all right, 1 more movie. And he's looking to top this last one.
So real quick, isn't like traditionally when you have a series of movies, isn't it typically like you do 3?
Well,
You do 3, and then
I
that's
would
the end of the trilogy, and
I would argue that this trilogy begins in the second one. So it's like because the third one is really more the second part, the middle part of a trilogy than it is a third part, if that makes any sense.
I mean, I would tend
I
to
guess
agree with
if
that
the first
because
one
I would
is
say I would argue that the first one is really just like a test demo or a
to see what
test
they could
tape or
do,
whatever to see what they could do, so then they could make the real movie, which is the second one.
I would say that like if this is Friday the 13th, part 1 is Friday the 13th part 1, and the second one is like part 2, where it's like that's where Jason's story begins.
Like, you know how with Deadpool they had that test footage that got leaked? Like, to me that's what the first one is. It's
Kind of.
the test footage before you make the real movie.
I mean, I could see why you would say that. And then we didn't talk about it last week because I completely forgot to mention it. But you know what? We're gonna go to that. We're gonna axe that. I saw a trailer for that. There's an Art the Clown. There's an Art the Clown video game that's coming out. It's like a 2D hack and slasher, and part of the trailer was like anime. It was like this anime trailer where you see Art the Clown kill somebody, and it was just as bloody and gruesome as the movies are, but less upsetting. I guess because when it's a cartoon, it's just less upsetting.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I will never play that game.
it's all right. It looks all right.
Nah. I really want nothing more to do with this clown, Justin. I'm sorry, mime. He's a mime. That's a hill I will die on. He's a mime.
Let me see here. There's nothing in this article that. Oh, okay. Yeah, he looks like a. So apparently, in the new Fantastic Four movie, they're gonna have Herbie. You know,
The car?
The little robot.
Oh.
From
when I hear Herbie, I think Herbie fully loaded, and I think the punch buggy.
Oh, you don't remember Herbie from the cartoon?
No.
No, there's a cartoon from like the '60s, I want to say, and for whatever reason they weren't allowed to use Johnny Storm, so the Fantastic Four is the Thing, Reed Richards, Invisible Woman, and Herbie, a little robot, and he's gonna be in the new movie. And boy, howdy, does it look like Herbie? That's a real deep cut for Fantastic. And then I think he was in the comics a bunch, but it's a real deep cut for Fantastic Four fans.
Interesting. I mean, I'm still just upset about the fact that Robert Downey Jr. is going to be Doctor Doom. I will not let that go, and that is a hill I will absolutely die on.
I mean, I'll die right there with you. Hunt for Gollum.
So wait, what is that? Is that the anime one that you were talking about?
No, it's a new live action movie, directed by Andy Serkis, I think.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure.
When's it take place in the timeline?
It looks like Ian McKellen's. It looks like Ian McKellen is in it. I'm guessing sometime before the first one.
Interesting.
And it's only one movie. Apparently, they were under the impression it would be 2 movies, but
sure it is. Just no. With the Lord of the Rings, there's always 17 different movies and a TV show.
And then
I didn't know that they were making another one. That's interesting.
Oh yeah,
Literally the first time hearing about it.
Yeah. I'm pretty excited about that. Doubling back to Terrifier for a second. Apparently,
Do we
and
have
this
to?
and this interests me because it tells me that people are going to the movies again, so it makes me happy. But apparently, ticket sales for the new DreamWorks movie, The Wild Robot, boosted because kids were buying tickets to it and then sneaking into Terrifier 3.
That's upsetting.
Right? But like good. Because that means that
I
means
mean,
that means that the teens
y-
no the teens should be trying to sneak into R-rated movies. That's like that I mean that was a major part of working at the movie theater was busting kids for trying to sneak into R-rated movies. Like
sure, but
that
that to me, with the Terrifier movies, I never used to think this, but I think there should be a rating above R,
I mean there is.
like adult only,
Yeah, it's called
and that
NC-17.
and it should have gotten that.
I mean, yeah, I'm surprised it didn't. Considering how pearl clutchy the MPAA is, I'm very surprised that thing got an R. The reason why it probably did was because the last one made a shit ton of money. That's why. They're real
Not
bad.
an excuse.
They're real corrupt. No, I'm not saying it is, but they're real corrupt. They're real bad. Because you're right.
But
Like what on? But I mean, to be fair though, and I'm gonna make this. There's some shit in these Halloween movies that's more gruesome than the Terrifier movies. Like I'm not even like. There's a couple of deaths in the later ones where I had to be like, stop, please stop, and it just wouldn't stop. So like,
that's fair.
um, yeah, I maybe there's younger people in the MPAA now who are less sensitive, but you're right. I'm surprised that that thing only got an R rating. So it seems like it should, but maybe it's because it's so cartoony. Maybe that's why. I honestly couldn't tell you.
I don't know what they were thinking.
And then
I don't
finally,
understand their logic.
finally, there's a Looney Tunes movie that's coming out, an animated one. We've talked about it before, and I saw a trailer for it. It's called the Day the Earth Blew Up, a Looney Tunes movie, and I saw a trailer for it, and the trailer had indicated that it was being released theatrically, or it had been released theatrically. And I tried to look for it, and I was nowhere to be found. I'm like, oh, so maybe it's on streaming. I could not find this movie, and I thought for sure it was going to end up being like that Acme versus Coyote movie, and it was going to end up being a write off. That's our one of our first shorts is about that movie. That is our history begins with that movie.
The movie that I would have liked to watch.
Yeah. Huh. So apparently it's been acquired for distribution by a company. So it will in fact go to theaters. Not the Coyote one, but the other one, The
Sorry.
Day the Earth Blew Up.
Unfortunately, you're right, Arete Media. Yeah, he says if they really cared, they would have someone at the door of the theater checking people's tickets for the Terrifier movie. They don't care.
No, I mean they do to a. I can't speak to American movie theaters. Maybe Canadian theaters work differently. You can't. People get really pissy at you when you over police them. Like we had to monitor people for sneaking booze into the Trailer Park Boys movie, and they like yelled at me. So like, if you stand there at the door and check people's tickets, I mean, to be fair, you're already technically supposed to be standing at the door, like ripping tickets. At least that's how it works at Cineplex. So that's the point where theoretically you're supposed to stop them, and then that's the guy who's supposed to watch the theaters, but you can't always catch him. Like your best hope is when you do theater checks, that's when you catch him, and a theater employee will will usually bust them. Some care more than others. I will agree with that. I was always like particularly on it because it's a thing of if they get busted, if it's anything like here, you lose your license to show R-rated movies. Like they took it very seriously when I worked at
He
movie theater.
he says they'd be more angry about someone not buying a ticket than a minor seeing Terrifier.
Yeah. Well, again I can't speak to American theaters, but here they would care because like I said, you lose you we had a there was a girl who she didn't know, and she sat down in I can't remember, I think it was either 300 or Watchmen. She sat down in it, and it was 18 and plus, and she was like 17, just about to turn 18. She was like really close, and she nearly got fired because if you get caught, because they have back in the day when I worked there, they have people who audit that. Like they'll show up and they'll sit in your movie theater and they'll audit you. And if you get busted, you can lose your license to show those movies. And so they took it very seriously. She almost got fired. They like took her into the office. Like three managers all yelled at her for it, and she like cried. It was like a big deal. I don't know if things have changed. Maybe things are different now. The Terrifier movies are particularly violent, so I don't really. But yeah, that's how it worked back in the day with normal R-rated movies, or in our case, 18A rated movies. Um. Anyway, the reason I bring up that Looney Tunes movie, everyone needs to go watch that Looney Tunes movie. We will be watching that Looney Tunes movie. We will spend money on it. I don't care if we get free passes or not, because I want to send the message to Warner Brothers that they shouldn't delete their fucking movies.
That's fair. Is that out?
It's supposedly coming out. I don't know when it's going to come out. Right now, apparently, it's going to. Yeah, I don't know when it's coming out. I don't even know if it's coming out here, or if it's only going to be distributed in the States. But if it comes here, I will drive to Langley to watch it because we need to support this movie.
I mean, here's what I'll say. We paid money to watch Terrifier in a city over, a movie which I had absolutely no interest in watching, and did it anyway. I like Looney Tunes. I will absolutely spend money on it.
Because it's apparently a good movie, and we need to send... We as consumers, we talked about this before, but we as consumers need to send Warner Brothers the message that they shouldn't delete their fucking movies, that they should put out Acme versus Coyote. They should put out Supergirl. Like, we need to teach them that the theatrical release window is viable, because it is. The Terrifier movie proves that.
Especially if the movie's already made, if they don't want to put it in theaters, at the very least, it should be going on to their streaming service, if nothing else. Don't just delete it.
The reason why kids sneaking into Terrifier excites me, that sounds weird, but the reason why that makes me happy, that also sounds weird, is because it means kids are going to the movie theater. The fact that they're buying tickets for the Wild Robot and massively pumping up their ticket sales, that's a good thing. A, for the Wild Robot, which means that movie's making money, and the Terrifier movie's not, which should be good. But it means that the kids are going to the movie theaters. Those kids could have easily waited and gotten it off of streaming when it hit streaming later this month, or next month, or whatever, and then watched it, not have to worry about getting busted sneaking into it. But they wanted to go to the theater to see this, to experience it for the first time, to be part of the thing. And we need to bring that level of engagement with movie theaters back. That's what will save movie theaters. Is people actually going to movies.
Yes, you're right. I agree with that sentiment. I just don't know that I like that it's because of Terrifier.
Yes, I expected you to be like, does it have to be the Terrifier movies, though?
I mean, I'm trying to be fair. I just I don't think young people should be watching that movie.
Terrifier 3 has made a ton of money, and that's not a good thing. Because it will influence horror movies going forward, as we talked about with Saw X. But it is a good thing because it means small-minded creators still can succeed in Hollywood. To me, it's when everyone's like, "Oh, Hollywood is dying."
Movies it's a like double-edged sword.
Yeah, movies like Terrifier are like why I think that Hollywood will live. It's like, clearly, yes, there's still an appetite for the movie theater experience. Oh, and you know what? Final story. I'm going to do one final story because I want to end on something that's fun.
One more thing.
Apparently they're making a Tron video game.
Interesting.
Yeah, apparently it's going to be called, Tron Catalyst. It is a brand new story-driven isometric action game. I don't know what that means.
Isometric so is that top down, I guess?
I don't know.
Hold on. Let's see what I can find out.
I know what an isometric, like I know that Friday the 13th and Dead by Daylight, I know those are isometric horror games, but I don't know what isometric means. But apparently it's a sequel to another game. Is Tron Identity, is that the one that you played?
Oh, it might be. I didn't play very much of it.
Because like it says, it's a sequel to Tron Identity. And I remember you playing a Tron game for a little bit, that was for PS3. But I thought that was an adaptation. But I seem to recall you saying it's an original story. I'm trying to think. Can you? Hey, while you're looking stuff up, can you look that up for me?
Sorry, what am I looking up?
Tron Identity, is that the one that you were playing?
Let's find out.
Because this is apparently a sequel to it.
Identity.
Apparently, this will have real-time combat. They will control Exo, a program with the ability to initiate time loops as they uncover the mysteries of a glitch that's threatening the ARQ grid. ARC grid? Apparently, it's gonna have new art
No,
music.
no, this is not the one that I played.
Oh, interesting.
It's Tron Identity. What comes up when I look it up is a visual novel puzzle video game
Huh. Well,
set 13 years after Tron Legacy.
so then what's
The
an isometric action game then? Did you find out what it was? Did you find out anything that tells you what it
I
is?
found out about like isometric and stuff, but
Nothing.
hold on,
But I'm excited
nothing
for that.
specific.
I am excited for that.
Like, yeah, the stuff that comes up when I type in isometric action game. It has games / isometric exercise / action. It gives like Diablo 2 or
Oh,
Baldur's Gate.
interesting. So okay? It's like a strategy game. Okay. I guess we'll find out when that
Like
comes out.
top down kind of one, I guess. I don't know.
There's a video that's with it, but I suspect it's only a.
Yeah, I suspect that it'll be like a top down action game, basically, like
Oh,
where like you're basically like a Diablo where you're looking down from the top, but it's an action, kind of like a Baldur's Gate 3 is what I picture it like.
okay. That sounds interesting. That's the news. That's it.
But I might be wrong.
We got to the end of the news. Speaking of, I'm doing the Donald Trump dance for for audio listeners. Speaking of the Donald Trump, I'm gonna make a talk about this later. But I read his new biopic movie is out. This is totally unrelated to what we're doing today, but I just think it's funny. Um, his new biopic came out about him, where Sebastian Stan plays him, and he Donald Trump doesn't like it, and I was like,
Shocker.
I wonder why, and then you read it. I read it, and I'm like,
It
wow,
probably
yeah.
doesn't paint him in a very good
No,
light.
it
That's
paints
why.
him as an absolute monster. Like it paints him
Yeah.
as I'm kind of interested in it for the fact there's a really apparently really prolonged sexual assault scene that I just no thank you.
So so here's what I'll say. Hearing you describe all that, do not be surprised if you hear in the news about how Donald Trump is suing them
Oh, I
for
think he already has threatened to or is trying
defamation.
to. I think
Yeah.
he's accused them of trying to damage the presidential election for the presidential election by because they just made a movie. He's like, you're trying to damage my presidential candidacy.
Yeah,
But
like I
I
said,
thought it was funny because
I won't be surprised.
people didn't like Bush, but his biopic was sympathetic. That's all I'm saying. His biopic was sympathetic. His
Yeah,
debate.
to be fair, only one of them is an actual criminal, technically.
I mean, legally speaking, yeah, they're both criminals, but legally speaking,
No,
only one of
I
them
know,
is.
but legally
Really,
speaking.
all presidents are criminals. Oh, we've made this, but I just real quick, and then we'll get back into the fun stuff. You know, the
The
murder.
slasher stuff.
But there was a podcast I listened to that said every leader, when they are finished being the leader of a country, should just automatically go to jail. And then the next one, when they get signed in, you be like, are you going to do the same stuff as the last one? Yeah, then you also go to jail, and then they just go to jail at the end of their term, just automatically. You
Do
know
not
what?
pass go. Do not collect
All right.
$200.
Today's show sponsorship section. Today's show is brought to you by Jordan. Let's say you have spent a lot of money creating and crafting your Jason Voorhees costume, and you go to your Halloween party, your friend's Halloween party, and your friend's like, I want to declare the best costume, Mr. Jason Voorhees. You have the best costume. What might that friend give that friend, Jordan?
A trophy, a belt, a championship ring,
And where can they get those trophies, Jordan?
wall art, TrophySmack.com using our link.
TrophySmack.com. You want to give a trophy to your friends and tell them that they have the best Michael Myers costume on the planet? Go to TrophySmack.com.
With custom engraving.
Or do you want to tell your friend who's just wearing a hockey mask? Seriously, Dave, put some effort in. Get the machete at least. You want to tell him he's a real loser for his bad Jason Voorhees costume? You can get a loser trophy as well at TrophySmack.com.
Or, if you want to be a wrestler and dress as a wrestler and not Jason Voorhees, you can get an awesome belt
Where can they
which
get
will
that,
just
Jordan?
complete the look at trophysmack.com,
And
specifically using our link in the description
our link,
below.
you can get a trophy that looks as good as this. Seriously, we do it every week now. We do the ASMR, the tapping. Feel that the sheen, the shine. It's got
No,
the little holes.
no.
The holes in it so you can hang it up on your wall. They look great. They're good quality. I've seen Jake has the belt. I've seen what the belt looks like. They're great quality. TrophySmack.com. Thank you as always for sponsoring the show. On with the show. Let's move into the second half.
On with the show, and Arete says those Artie Awards are coming up.
They are, yes, absolutely. The Artie Awards are going to be coming up. We're obviously gunning for Podcast of the Year. That we will be submitting for that. I will be submitting ours for best episode. Let me know in the comments what you think is our best episode. I can tell you what our most successful one is. Oh, fun fact, our most successful video of all time, thanks to everyone who checked out our video on Art the Clown, and we just seemed sad and defeated. But apparently YouTube really likes sad and defeated, because that video is doing exceptionally well right now.
On the one hand,
and on TikTok it did very well.
I appreciate the algorithm working in our benefit there, and that the video is doing well. On the other hand, it upsets me that it's for the Terrifier movies.
At least you didn't watch those movies for nothing.
It just genuinely hurts my soul.
But yeah, let me know. Let me know in the comments.
Also, in response to the Artie Awards are coming up. And where we'll probably be getting the trophies for said Artie Awards is trophysmack.com.
All right, let's try to do it. 3, 2, 1. Trophysmack.com. Dang it, we almost had it. Every time we try to do it. Trophysmack.com. No, it's not working. It's not working.
It's that delay.
We can't do it. We can't do it on purpose. We can sure as hell do it accidentally, but we can't do it on purpose. So today on the show, and the penultimate episode of the Spook
When did you lose this episode, Justin? When did we go off the rails?
Oh no, there are no rails. There are no rails. There are no rails this week. There are no rails. It's okay. It's okay. We needed this, Jordan. We needed this to be a silly, goofy episode. We needed some levity. And with that, today, this week's topic is in the penultimate episode of the Spook parentheses of the Moment podcast. It is a big, deep, long retrospective of iconic slasher villains. Once again, remind the audience at home which iconic slasher villain you selected.
I chose Jason Voorhees.
And I selected Halloween. Now, we're gonna wind up doing jumping around here. There's no way about it. But we're gonna do what we normally do in one sense. Like, we're not gonna do have scenes, have not scenes. It's just gonna be kind of a retrospective. We're gonna do these a movie at a time. We managed to watch all of them. Like, just up top.
Yeah.
I'm impressed with us.
I do want to say,
we're gonna have no time ever.
I watched the Friday the 13th movie, and so it's a little upsetting that there's only 12 of them.
I mean,
how synergistically awesome would it have been if I could have said, I watched the Friday the 13 movies.
I watched 13 Halloween movies, so
yeah, it's not the same.
It's close.
You should have had 12, and I should have had 13. It's bullshit, is what I'm saying.
I mean, that's pretty bullshitty. So we'll just go through these a movie at a time. If you want to focus on one in particular, we can go on longer, we can go shorter. It'll sort of loosely follow the regular format of the show. But let's just talk about these guys. Let's start at the beginning. Let's start I think I'm in the 70s. I'm 78, I think. You're 1980, 81.
I'm 1980.
Let's do you first. We'll let you go first. The first Friday the 13th movie, in my opinion, the best Friday the 13th movie. Like, in terms of being an actual, like, good movie and not just being stupid and silly. If you remove the silliness from the rest of them, and, like, in terms of actual movie making ability, I think it's the best one.
So, okay, here's what I'm gonna say. It depends on what you're quantifying it by. If you're quantifying these movies, like the Friday the 13th movies, they can only be good if they have Jason Voorhees. This instantly has to be the worst because it doesn't have Jason.
Well, that's why I separated it into.
If you're going purely by, like, film quality, I would probably say this one is the best, because in terms of like what actually happens in the movie, I mean, I have future knowledge, so ignore me. But like, if you're
Yeah.
watching this the first time,
It's
not
a
knowing what's going to
legitimately good
happen,
twist.
it's a good twist.
You're
Yeah,
not
I
expecting the old camp late lunch lady to be the killer. You're not expecting that.
no,
Like that is it's
no.
legit a good. We're gonna be spoiling the shit out of these movies, by the way. They're ancient. Get over yourself. Wow, that was. I'm
Um,
so antagonistic this week. I'm sorry.
yeah, you need to just calm the fuck down, man.
No, but
Um,
my that's why I separate them into two categories. See, Halloween I don't have to do that, but with yours I would separate them into the best Friday the 13th movie and the best Jason movie. Because
yeah,
the Friday the 13th, the first one is in my opinion it's the best movie because yeah, you don't know who's gonna die and you don't know in which order. You don't know who's gonna survive. Like you don't know if you don't know the twist, it does not telegraph it like at
I
all.
will say, I do think that the 2009 remake gives it a run for its money, only because it really it it merges together the first three movies really
Yeah, but
satisfactorily for me.
for me, it loses. That's why I'm like, when I'm like, I watch a show about. I want to learn more about Pamela Voorhees. To me, she's an underserved character in this franchise because obviously, the second one went like, oh yeah, we're gonna bring back Jason, and then everyone fucking loved Jason. So we'll get there. But no, I genuinely really that it's my favorite Friday the 13th movie because it's the one
Yeah,
that made me
I
go like,
almost
I get it. I get why this became a thing.
I just you're right. It almost has to be like it's right here, and
Yeah.
it's in its own bubble.
It's on its own
It's
little
in its own
category.
in its
Yeah.
own multiverse, if you will. And then the rest of the movies are over here,
Because,
and they are. It's like
because,
they. I have to compare them against
right.
each other.
Like, while I think it's fair to compare Friday the 13th Part 2 to Friday the 13th Part 7, I don't think it's fair to compare Friday or Jason in Space to Friday the 13th Part 1. They're just not the same movie. They're just not.
No,
And it's like, it's also just,
no,
it's a movie that, for the 1980s, it's really tense. Like, it's not silly. And again,
no.
it's genuinely a good movie. Like a
And
genuinely
there's
well
also just
constructed horror movie.
there's also just the fact that if we're being technical, I picked Jason Voorhees. I didn't
Right.
pick Friday the
You didn't
13th.
pick
I picked
Pamela
this. I
Voorhees,
didn't
yeah.
pick no, and so while I did enjoy this movie, I have to if technically for our competition's point of view, it's not in the running.
No, I don't think so. I don't think it is.
Like
No.
it can't
But
be
to be
because
fair,
it's not.
I have my own not in the running coming up. It's just later on.
Yeah.
So, but I
And
want to talk about it
so
nonetheless. Speaking of which, I want to pull that
there's
up.
actually technically for me there's two which I argue are in this like in the
Yeah,
category of
yeah,
they
I
can't
know
be in the running,
I know which one you're talking
but
about. But
well
it's
actually
got the hockey
I
mask. So
actually I would almost argue there's three, but we'll talk
really,
about them as we go through them.
I don't know what. Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah, you're right. So anyway, do you have any more thoughts on the first Friday? It's a solid start to a
it's a
franchise. It's
solid
not a solid start to
yeah.
a franchise, but it's a good. The second one's a solid start to a franchise.
I much in the same way that I say that with bringing it back to Art the Clown, where like watch the second one and then retroactively go back to the first one. I
Yeah.
kind of I kind of feel uh I'll read that in a second. I kind of feel like you could skip this one and just go directly
Oh,
to
you
the second one,
could, but I
and
mean, this
then
one's so good though.
it is,
It's not
but
that I
I
wouldn't.
just
In that regard, I wouldn't. With Terrifier movies, I'm like, if you want to reduce your unpleasantness, but for this one, I'm like, no. If you want to watch a legit good horror movie, good
I
thriller,
I just more mean in terms of the fact that it's so different from even the second one.
yeah, yeah, not
Like
wrong.
it's so different. Like it's almost not even it's
Not
almost like the
fair,
second
not
one.
fair.
Well, I was gonna say it's almost like the second one's a spin-off.
Yeah,
Like it's
yeah.
not a sequel really. It is, but it's not. Like that's where I'm like it's weird. Sorry, Pantheon podcast says Jordan don't even Justin is always wrong. Ha 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 ha
I mean,
ha.
except for the times where I help Virus out, you know, in court cases, you know, maybe I'm right then. Putting that out there. Um.
um
Okay, so with
but
that, move on
that's
to
really all I have to say about the first one.
I guess Halloween Part 1. Um. So Halloween Part 1. Here's my thing with. Okay, here's my this is going to be my thesis for Michael Myers going forward. You're going to hear me say it a lot, so I'm going to ask the question up top, and I'm going to keep going back to it. Oh yeah, number one, we're going to play a game with the Halloween movies that I call Spot the Retcon. So when I say something that sounds like a retcon to you, just shout it out. Cool.
Sure. Also, Pantheon Podcast says, I just got here. You guys talked about Smile too.
Smile. No, first Friday the 13th. Now first Halloween. Michael Myers. And Jason Voorhees.
We're making our way through all of them.
Yeah, all of them, every single one. We're on Halloween 1, which, yeah, my question about Michael Myers up top from the beginning is, and it's going to be a question I come back to a lot, is Michael Myers human? Or is he spooky? Or does he have superpowers? Or is he just a guy?
I don't know much about Michael Myers. I'm going to be fair. I just know that I think he wears the mask.
Yeah, he wears the mask, yeah.
As I understand him, he's just a guy, right?
Well, we're going to get into it because these movies make attempts to explain what he is. But so far as this movie, and the thing about this movie is, and we're going to talk about the Rob Zombie movie later, but this one doesn't really, like, it opens with Michael stabbing you seeing from Michael's perspective, him stabbing his sister to death, which then prompts him to be sent to an insane asylum. And he breaks out on Halloween night, and he goes and he basically attacks,
stalks people.
Yeah, he kills people and he stalks Jamie Lee Curtis's character, Laurie Strode. And the whole movie, there's a character called Dr. Loomis who keeps going around being like, he's evil. But it's not clear as to if he means that literally or not. Like do you mean like literally, because this is a movie, do you mean like literally like in the magic he's a demon way, or do you mean like metaphorically? Like he's like for example, I would characterize Hitler as evil, but he still died by shot to the head. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like,
there's a difference between spiritually evil and just humanly evil. Terrestrially, if
you will, right? And so he keeps going around the whole movie being like, you have to get Michael Myers. You have to get Michael. That's like a pretty impression of Michael McDowell. We have to get Michael Myers.
Pantheon Podcast says, it doesn't explain, but I believe he is a big, strong human.
Right, but like, okay, to jump ahead, the end of this movie, he gets shot 6 times, point blank, in the chest. And then he just gets, like, the movie shows him there on the ground, and then it goes back, and he's gone. And you're like, okay, well, you don't make another one. He just kind of wandered off and then bled to death, right? But yeah, he just takes weird amounts of punishment. And you're like, well, he's just a guy. Just shoot him in the head.
This is where I'm gonna jump in here. In the first 3 Friday the 13th movies, I believe it's the 4th one where we go supernatural. Freddy is also just a guy, and I also think that he's capable of taking just way too much punishment.
I mean,
but you then said to me, and I'm gonna now throw this in your face. Adrenaline can get you through a lot, especially if you're a big guy.
Well, sure, right, but I mean, not to the degree of damage to which he takes in these movies. But yes, there are certain moments where you're like,
I would make that same argument in my movie.
There's certain moments where it's just like, and I think the difference is in the Friday the 13th movies, they don't go out of their way to be like he's just a guy. Like, these movies go out of their way.
The first ones they do. They're very much like, he's human.
Not quite in the same way. Not quite in the, like, that one they implied that he's supernaturally evil.
Pantheon Podcast says, I heard a theory that he dies with those 6 shots, but he made a deal with the devil to keep coming back as a force of evil. But totally urban legend.
Well, and then we're gonna that's something. Yes, there's different ideas. Like in the movie, he's not, when he's wearing the mask, he's not called Michael Myers. He's called the Shape. That's what his technical evil name is. Like, that's what he's called in the script, but they never call him that in the actual movie. They only ever call him Michael Myers. And yeah, it just sort of seems like there's no rhyme or reason for why he goes for Laurie. There's like with Jason, you thoroughly understand why he's killing the people he does. Like he doesn't have a motivation. He has a motivation in the individual killings of the people, but like you understand why he kills. Whereas with Michael Myers, especially in this first one, he just kind of goes after her for no reason, which is fine. That's what makes him theoretically scary. And then that's the thing I appreciated about this first one. When I was like, just shoot him, he does at the end. He shoots him point blank. He flies out the window. That's it. Like Loomis just shows up at the end and saves the day. And that's the first one.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's surprisingly brutal. And they are surprisingly brutal movies. There's a kill in the next one, which I was like genuinely surprised by. But anyway, we'll get there. Second, so the Friday the 13th.
I guess we'll move on to the first Freddy Voorhees movie.
Jason Voorhees. Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees.
Sorry, I always mix up their names. So one thing that I kind of discovered as I was watching these movies is it's interesting to watch the progression of like from he's just essentially a big hillbilly who lives in the woods.
Yeah, I know. To
unstoppable zombie force that can't be killed.
Well, that's the thing I appreciate about the Friday the 13th movies. When they hit that point where they're like, we can't explain how he keeps survive getting shot. We need a reason. They came up with one, and they made it work within the confines. My guy didn't so much. Yeah, my guy didn't so much. But
sorry. Pantheon podcast. In Jason's case, he kills because everyone is having sex in the cabin but him.
Yeah, that's you joke, but that technically, yeah. The thing about Jason.
Technically, in the world of him, he drowned because the teenagers were having sex, and he's pissed.
Yeah,
he's essentially it.
He's an angel of punishment, so he punishes his victims, and he doesn't punish the. That's why I think. Yeah, no, I'll save it. But he doesn't kill children. And he doesn't kill animals. Like that's the thing. He does not he does not harm the innocent. He only harms the people he feels deserves it. That's the difference between him and Michael Myers.
The people that he feels are morally corrupt.
Michael Myers,
how I would describe it.
Yeah, exactly. Michael Myers will absolutely kill a kid.
So the second one of this journey that we're on, if you will.
Yeah, we have yet to see the hockey mask.
No, we're still wearing the pillowcase.
Yeah, we're still wearing the pillowcase.
Which so here's what I'll say. Jason is a character where it's like I've seen a few of these, but they're either not memorable enough for me to remember exactly which ones I had watched before, which yes, I could see that argument, or it's the fact that he's such an icon that it's like you don't really need to have seen his movies to know.
But it's fun to see where he begins. Is that fun to see his origins?
And so that's kind of my thing. Is it's fun to see his slow descent into what he becomes.
My one thing with this one that I found confusing, and maybe you picked up on it more than I did. This is supposed to take place immediately after the first one, right?
Pretty fast after, I believe. Yeah.
Right, because it opens with the girl from the first one, right?
It opens with the girl, and then the rest of the movie is 5 years later.
Okay, because doesn't the Jason show up and kill her in the beginning?
Yeah, he does.
And he's an adult at that point, right?
Which was a weird choice.
I
believe not the kid.
Adult
the girl.
Jason.
He shows. Yeah.
Because it's implied that the thing that the thing that happens at the end where he like leaps up out of the water and grabs her, that's not real.
Oh, that's not part 2.
No, I'm saying at the end of part 1, because my question, my confusion is, at the end of part 1, you see Jason.
Part 1, it's supposed to be implied that Jason. Arete says so. Jason is the Punisher. Yeah, kind of.
Kind of, yeah.
More like the Ghost Rider.
Yeah, a little bit. But no, the first one ends with him like leaping up out of the water and grabbing
jumping
her.
out of the water and grabbing her.
And then the second one retcons that into.
The second one retcons it, and it basically implies that he was real. Because the first one kind of you're supposed to think that it was all in our head and it was a dream.
I thought that was the other way. That the first one was like it was real. The second one was like the him being all deformed and shit. That because when she grabs him or when he grabs her, he's a kid, so he's not an adult. That's why I get confused.
Yeah, well, that's where I say, as I understand it, the first one it's supposed to because she wakes up. The first
Yeah.
one it was supposed to be at a dream, but then they retconned that in the second one, and then it
Is that
wasn't.
that's what I'm saying. I'm pretty sure it's the other way around. I think in the first
No,
one,
I just watched it. We're gonna go with my knowledge on this.
because
I'm pretty sure you're wrong.
doesn't it just cut the credits when he grabs her? Just cuts because she goes ah, and then it cuts the credits.
I mean, I have the Wikipedia open. I can read you what happens.
Yeah, I'm because that's where my confusion went. I was like, well, when she grabbed her, he was a kid. How is he all of a sudden an adult?
I'll have to open the actual Friday the 13th one.
But then, okay, even if it did happen, he's a kid in that sequence, and he's an adult in that movie. So how did he go from being a kid to an adult rapidly?
I mean, the answer it retcons the second one retcons the first one. We've already said that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The second one retcons it that sequence into being a dream sequence. That's what I'm saying.
No, it retcons it into being real.
But then how? Yeah, but then that doesn't make any sense. Then how did he grab her?
When she awakes, Jason's decomposing corpse emerges from the lake and drags her underwater, at which point she awakens in a hospital surrounded by a police sergeant and medical staff. The sergeant says there was no sign of a boy at the lake, to which Alice says that he's still there.
Interesting.
That's how the first one ends.
Okay. So the first one implies that that was a dream.
Yeah. And then the
Okay.
second one opens. Gotta get to the
I remember
summary
the second
plot.
one saying that it was a dream. That didn't actually happen because it wouldn't make any sense for it to happen.
Plot: 2 months after the murders at Camp Crystal Lake, sole survivor Alice Hardy is recovering from her trauma. Yada 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 yada. Yeah, it doesn't really say. It just says that she's murdered.
Yeah, so I'm guessing the implication is that the kid thing is a dream.
Yeah,
Um,
probably.
but anyway, you have anything major you want to say about the second one? Beyond the fact that no
Um,
hockey mask yet.
yeah, no, we're pre-hockey mask. It's. I mean, most of what I'm gonna say about these movies, kind of comes down to, you see a lot of sex and you see a lot of murder.
Yep,
And you really don't want to see Jason Voorhees without his mask because that son of a bitch is ugly.
he's an ugly dude. So I guess we'll move on to Halloween Part Two. So Halloween Part Two picks up pretty much
And
pretty.
sorry, Pantheon podcast says in this era he is a misogynist, asexual that recognizes himself as a jury and executioner. Ha ha. Jason #Jason 2024.
Probably not inaccurate. Second Halloween. So the second Halloween movie picks up immediately after the first one, and it's basically the entire movie is Laurie is in a hospital, and Michael Myers just kind of having survived being shot 6 times somehow. Um, Basically terrorizes her at this hospital. And there are some surprisingly gnarly deaths. There's one where Michael Myers like takes this nurse and like shoves her face in boiling water and then like pulls it back out and her face is like peeling off. And you're like, ooh, that's kind of gruesome. Like the first one, the kills were quaint. For me, they were like, oh, this is cute. This is soft. But that one I went, oh, ooh, that one's kind of brutal. Um, and this is the one where the big twist is that Laurie Strode it was actually adopted, a thing that was not hinted at or set up at all in the previous movie. The previous movie was he just kind of picked her because he saw her. That's why he went after her. That's it. And the first movie basically implies that half the fun for him is like there's moments where it just cuts and he's just standing there creepily. Like the first movie implies that like he enjoys that stuff. The second one is like, okay, no, we need a reason for why he does the stuff he does. So now, big twist, Laurie Strode is actually his sister. And his whole thing is Laurie is he wants to recreate the death of his original big sister by murdering her. And that's why he wants to murder her. And the whole movie is basically just, yeah, him terrorizing this hospital. And I'm just trying to remember if there's anything else notable about the second one. The second one was supposed to be the last one. That's the important part. So eventually they got the idea, and this is going to be important for the next one, that these would become an anthology. So every one of Halloween movies would be a different movie, different story, different characters. And they'd all be like R-rated stories about Halloween. And so Michael Myers dies at the end of this movie. he gets killed. Every 2 or 3 movies, he gets killed permanently. So this movie ends with him getting shot again and blown up. He's blown up, like the fire blown up, and Loomis is still there, and he spends the entire movie. And this is where they keep spending the entire movie like he's evil, he's pure evil. Or the times I'm like, he'll never die. Again, do you mean like in a metaphorical sense, or do you mean like that literally? Like if you were to stab him in the throat, he wouldn't bleed to death. Like, is that what you mean? Is that what you mean? Yeah, that's the second one. So,
I mean, that might in fact be what they mean.
Okay, that's the second one. He's dead now. That's the second.
He can't hurt you anymore,
Justin. That's the second Halloween movie. Third Friday the 13th movie.
Yeah, so it's I'm gonna be honest. A lot of these movies blend together at a certain point.
I don't remember this one. I just know that it's the 3D one.
Which is why, yeah, I didn't watch it in 3D, but and I didn't even know that it was in 3D until I was just reading that. So that was interesting.
You can tell. You can tell when you watch it. When you know that, you can immediately tell. There's a lot of like
no idea.
Jason like put stuff towards the camera.
So yeah, in this one is I believe the first one where he gets the mask.
Yeah, and you're expecting it to be kind of like a ceremonious thing because you're like, oh, it's this like and you could tell that like, I don't know that they knew that they were going to stick with the hockey mask because there's no circumstance put to it. He gets it off screen. Like in the remake. I mean in the remake there's the moment of he sees it and he like goes to put it on. That doesn't happen. Yeah. He just kind of reappears with it on.
No, this was definitely before, like in any movie franchise, they had no idea that was going to be as infamous as it became.
Right. That seems really good though, where he disappears and he comes back. I had to rewind it because like, wait a minute, when did we lose the fact that when I was rooting for the funny frat friend the whole time?
A Pantheon podcast says, but in that one he already got back from dead, so he is a zombie, I guess. I'm not sure if he's talking about yours.
Michael Myers. Yeah, Mike. If you're talking about Halloween Part 2, yeah, that movie just kind of implies he could just take being shot. There's no real explanation given to how he managed to survive being shot 6 times.
In terms of Friday the 13th.
Oh, no, sorry. I remember the other point. At the end of Halloween Part 2, he gets shot in the face. Like she shoots him in the face, and there's a point where his like eyes are closed, and he's like doing this, like feebly attempting to stab, and they're just like easily dodging him as he's like as he's completely blind, and then he gets blown up. So he's going into his next appearance supposed to be blind. He's supposed to be dead, but yeah, it's really
Pantheon Podcast says in this 3D one, he might be the first serial killer that breaks the fourth wall on camera or on cinema.
Honestly, don't know. Yes, that one was supposed to be in 3D.
But no, technically, in the third one, he is still human.
Yeah, he is. Still human.
Not. He's not yet been turned into a zombie.
Well, they all have an inherent level of their slasher villains. They have an inherent level of slasher villain superpowers. There's a difference between that and like.
No, but I mean, in terms of the story, he's not the immortal, unstoppable god yet.
Not yet.
In this one, it does start with him like badly injured and unmasked, and yeah, that's why he ends up getting the hockey mask. But this one otherwise doesn't really stand out very much for me. I just know that he kills more people.
Yeah, this is the one.
It introduces the kid, I think.
Oh yeah, I think this is the one that no, that's the next one. Tommy Doyle. There's one that eventually introduces not Tommy Doyle. Tommy though his name is, I think.
This one is. He just ends up at a house and he's killing all the people in the house.
Yeah.
That's really all this one is.
The only thing that's really notable about this one is this is where he gets the hockey mask.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I only really remember the really silly ones and the one I hate.
That's fair. So yeah, that's really all I have to say about the 3D one. The most interesting thing to me about it, I was just reading on the Wikipedia, was that originally they had planned for the plot to be almost completely different, but they wanted to essentially Cold Notes version. They wanted what I believe is the main girl from the second one to come back and basically be training and like planning on going and stopping Jason and getting revenge and stuff.
Oh, I
But
think I
then
knew this. She didn't want to
she
come
didn't
back.
want to come, you didn't want to come back, so they basically had to um sorry. They basically had to completely rewrite it. Sorry. Arete Media says Tommy is in the first one and appears again in Halloween 6.
Oh, that's for Halloween. Tommy for so this is what
We're
happens
talking
when
for Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th. Yeah, eventually they give him a nemesis in the form of I'm pretty sure his name is Tommy. His first name is Tommy. But yeah, he's the one who you think he's going to turn into Jason at the end of part 6, I think. But then we'll
Let's
get there.
find out. While you talk about your next one, I
Oh
will find
yes.
it. Yeah, no,
So
it is Tommy Jarvis.
Tommy Jarvis. Tommy Doyle is from Halloween. Yeah, that's Halloween. He we're gonna talk about part 6. No, don't even worry. We're gonna talk about Paul Rudd. Um, but first we're gonna talk about Halloween part 3. So yeah, I've got my own. It doesn't have the main guy in it movie, and that is Halloween part 3, which I quite liked. I think people think it's like notoriously bad. I like it. I understand why people don't, because it's not Halloween. It's not a Halloween movie. If as you put it with Friday the 13th, if you consider a Halloween movie as having Michael Myers in it, it's not a Halloween movie. But very basically, I'm gonna try to do this really fast. It takes place in the 1980s during Halloween. There is a sort of a conspiracy about these mysterious men are appearing around town, and they are murdering people, and like this had a truly like upsetting, as you put it, it's always the eye stuff. Like this franchise loves this, like doing that to people. So there's a really long scene of like a robot person just like doing that to somebody's face and squishing in their eyeballs, and I was like, stop it, please. And so all of these people who are mysteriously dying all work for this one guy, Silver Shamrock. And the entire movie, you keep seeing these commercials for these like weird Halloween masks that are going out to kids, and they have this really fun jingle, and all the kids want one. And it turns out that the guy who owns the company that's selling these toys wants to resurrect ancient Celtic rituals from his land, in which involves fascinating sacrificing children at Samhain, the pagan celebration of the celebration of winter. So he plans to use all of these Halloween masks to hypnotize and brainwash a bunch of kids all at the same time to kill them, so he can get power and bring back these ancient Celtic rites. And it is a surprisingly creepy movie, and I quite liked it. Maybe because I've watched 2 Michael Myers movies and it was something different, but the introduction of the Celtic rites or whatever is interesting. But yeah, the idea behind this one was that they wanted to do something. They wanted to step away from Michael Myers, which is why he gets killed off at the end of the last one. And people, like I say, notoriously hate this one because it does not include Michael Myers. It really reminds me of like an episode of the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, I could see why not having Michael Myers in a Michael Myers movie would be a tad bit frustrating.
Well, yeah, the idea though that they wanted to generate with this was that the Halloween franchise would be a franchise that could be anything. It wouldn't just be Michael Myers. It became associated with that, but at this point, you got to remember there are only 3 movies in.
That's fair.
That's it. Fair. That's it for part 3. That's it for part 3. Moving trucking right along to Friday the 13th part 4. We got to do this fast, people. We got 13 and 10 movies to get through.
Friday the 13th, the final chapter, which, spoiler alert, was not in fact the final chapter.
Because that's funny. I remember I was reading about the next one, and then I was like, why was it? Oh, right, because they thought that Jason would die at the end of this one permanently.
Well, so see, what's funny is when you talk about in the annals of history of where Jason becomes immortal, I can see the argument for I believe it's the next one, him becoming immortal. I would argue it starts here because he is presumed dead, taken to the morgue, and then just resuscitates himself on the morgue, like on the slab. like just comes back to life.
Yeah, this is the point where they were like, we need to explain how he's surviving this. And yeah, I think they made the right choice by maybe, I don't know. But to be fair, you kind of got to remember, we're in the point of the franchise where it gets silly. But we're watching them in the span of a week. These movies are coming out years apart, and they're desperately trying to figure out how to keep these characters like relevant. I would argue that this is Marvel of the 1980s.
I mean, but they don't really
These are a
explain
staple
it
franchise.
they don't really explain it in this one. It's in the one where he gets electrocuted. And
even then, they never really explain where it comes from.
It kind of just he gets Frankenstein.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I think is this the one though where they stop being scared of hiding him? There's one where they just stop hiding him. Like there's just scenes of him doing mundane shit of opening and closing doors, and it's so fucking funny.
I just know that this is the one where he fights the psychic girl.
Oh, is this the one where he fights the psychic girl?
I believe so.
I think that's part 7. Part 7. This is
because this is where Tommy comes in, and it's that the psychic girl is his sister.
No, I'm pretty sure that the psychic girl is the one where it's Jason versus Carrie. That's part 7. I'm almost entirely positive that's part 7. But you've got the wiki open.
Well, I mean, I can read you this entire thing, but
yeah, I know the psychic girl where Jason kills someone with the weed whacker. I'm pretty sure that's part 7, or no, maybe it's part 6, not part 4. That I know. Wait, we're on part 4, right? Yeah, we're on part 4. No, you're on part 4. Yeah.
Yeah, this one introduces Tommy.
No, I know that, but I don't think not the psychic girl you're thinking of, the one where she's got the evil psychiatrist. Or are we thinking of different psychic girls?
Is that not this one? What's this one?
That's not this one.
Yeah, I guess this one is just the older sister and Tommy fighting against him.
Yeah, and then I think Tommy comes back. He doesn't come back in the next one.
He's an adult. He's an adult in whichever one he comes back in.
Yeah. I think that's not the next one, but I think that's part 8. Because with Tommy, they started to do a thing where they were like he was gonna become Jason, and then they abandoned that storyline.
He's his nemesis, which I
much.
use that term. I use that term loosely.
Yeah, this is the one this is the one that introduces him. And then they kill Jason at the end.
She sees his deformed face. Tommy takes the machete and strikes it in the side of his skull, causing him to collapse to the floor and split his head open.
Yeah. And this is the point where you're like, oh, Jason's dead, which is why the next one, we'll talk about the next one. But is there anything? Yeah, this is the one that this one's notable. It introduces Tommy. He will be an important character going forward.
So yeah, the important thing to mention here is, as I've already stated, these movies really just blend into each other.
Now, hold on, I have to.
Especially because they're only like an hour and a half each.
Yeah, man. Hey, look, these are the correct length to the later ones. Hold on. Now I need to know. I'm confusing my. See, now I need to pull up my own notes because this is what happens when you watch 4 or 13 movies that are more or less the same movie. The ones you remember watch more recently, are the ones you remember. Oh yeah, so okay, the 4th one. So picture in your mind, Jordan. The 3rd one comes out. It gets critically lambasted and it's a financial failure. What do you do?
Stop making them?
Jordan, you're Hollywood. Try again.
Keep pumping these babies out until people are sick of them?
Yeah, okay, we're doing that, but while we do that, what are we doing exactly?
Reinventing the character?
Think about it, Jordan, where there's a character, he's the part of the franchise that people know, but he was killed at the end of the last one.
We're gonna bring him back.
We bring back Michael Myers. There you go. That took you way too long.
Unceremoniously and
so now, Jordan,
any explanation.
Oh yeah, so now, Jordan, it turns out that somehow Michael Myers and you thought that Loomis also died in the explosion from the previous movie. So now somehow, with seemingly no explanation, Michael Myers survived that explosion. He's been comatose in the hospital for 10 years, having survived the explosion. And Loomis, he's all scratched up and shit. I'm just trying to... Right, okay. So, this is the one where Jamie Lee Curtis didn't want to come back. So, Laurie, Jamie Lee Curtis' character, the original final girl from the first movie, dies off screen. She dies off screen. She dies off screen in a car crash. Gone. So now the movie has her daughter, Jamie Lloyd, who gets bullied at school for being the daughter of Michael Myers, the niece of Michael Myers, the niece of the boogeyman. Blah 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 blah. Sorry, just quickly reminding myself what happens in this movie. Right. So Jamie is like a young girl. She has a babysitter, and so the whole thing is, you find out that Michael Myers feels the need to kill his family for some reason. He just has this need. He needs to kill his family for whatever reason, and so at the end of the movie, then the whole concern is like, is the girl gonna wind up like Michael Myers? So at the end of the movie, it ends with Jamie Lynn standing over top of the babysitter, or over the mom, having attacked her with a knife, having attempted to stab her, and it cuts to her perspective, like just like it was in the first one, and the implication is that she stabbed the mom to death. There's nothing really all that notable about the fourth one for me otherwise. Oh yeah, that was the other one. There's a point where she hits him with the car, and it's like, just roll over his head. Just like squish his head with the car. Do it.
Like a balloon.
So yeah, so this is the point where, oh yeah, you're supposed to spot. Have you spot the retcon?
No.
Oh, now, what's her face is, you know what? We'll save it for major retcons. That's it. That's Halloween Part 4.
Okay. So we're on to Friday the 13th, Part 5.
Adrian's
Revenge. A new beginning.
This one's interesting.
So this one continues Tommy's story. Tommy's at a halfway house, and look at me. Jason shows up and starts murdering people. So now, while I was willing to take the first one because that was before we got the status quo of Jason, while I was willing to put that one in its special little bubble, and it's protected in that special little bubble, this one gets the full ravages of, is it a good Friday the 13th movie? No, because it doesn't have Jason Voorhees.
I mean, it does technically have the mask and the machete.
No. That doesn't matter. It doesn't have Jason Voorhees.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that.
It wants you to think that it has Jason Voorhees, but it's actually a guy named Roy who's pretending to be him, and it's a copycat killer. And no, sorry, no. These movies are supposed to have Jason Voorhees. It doesn't have Jason Voorhees.
I mean, that again, we're in what, number 5? So this is the point where they're like, yeah, we need to rejuvenate the franchise. We need to find a new bad guy. It can't always be Jason Voorhees. And the idea was going to be that they would swap out. There would be a new guy behind the mask, and there would be a mystery of who it was for every movie. And once again, say it with me now, Jordan. People hated it. You didn't say it with me.
That.
They hated it.
And so, yeah, that's the big twist with this one. The rest of it is superfluous. And then I believe, if I remember correctly, at the end, nope. We don't. There's no. Jason is not in this at all.
No. A lot of people don't know that. That's what's interesting.
I thought maybe I was like, maybe he showed up at the end and there was a stinger that was like at the end of the credits or something. But nope. There's no. This is Marvel post credits. And there's just nothing, and it's really just. I don't want to say bad, but like. It's not Jason.
No, yeah. It's a fine movie. It's just not Jason. I get what you're saying. So, is that it? You got any more?
No, that's it.
So, my thing with Michael at this point is, we
got to keep this shit rolling.
Well, the thing with Jason is he doesn't really have a character, but that's not really the point. He doesn't need one. Whereas with Michael, they tend to attribute character to him a lot. So, especially in these first ones, Professor or Dr. Loomis constantly is like, I know what you want, Michael. I know what you want. I'm going to give you what you want, Michael. And he does all these monologues where Michael is just staring at him like silently. And there's a lot of like, this character has no character. There's nothing to him. And I'm not saying he needs it, but they keep trying to ascribe it to him. So in this one, after having survived getting shot again and falling down a mine shaft, he floats down a river and somehow survives and gets nursed back to health. And a year later, he resumes the hunt for Jamie Lloyd, who has been admitted to the hospital and has been rented. That's it. In this one, she can't talk. This is the one where just out of nowhere, she can't talk. She's mute. She's gone completely mute for some reason. And also, for some unexplained reason, she's psychic.
Ooh.
So she can see whatever Michael Myers. She can basically see whatever Michael Myers does. She has premonitions of whatever Michael does. And as the movie goes on, she eventually regains her ability to speak, but still has these visions. It's very weird. And it's very strange. And so yeah, Loomis eventually uses the girl as bait to get Michael to come get her. She convinces him to remove his mask. That's the other thing. There's so many times where he removes his mask and you see he's just a guy, where you're like, yeah, he's just a guy. Another thing of note is in the first one, he's 21 years old. So he at this point is a man in his 30s. Yeah. And so then the movie ends basically with Jamie returning to the clinic, and there's been a mysterious black man who has been like watching her all day, and the movie doesn't really say who he is. He will be an important figure later. And it ends with all of her family has been killed by Michael, and she cries and is sad. That's part 5. There's a subplot that was cut out of this that we're going to talk about in the next one.
So we're on Friday the 13th, part 6.
Jason's back, Jason baby.
Lives. Really, what this should have been called is Friday the 13th, part 6. Fuck around and find out. Because Tommy's back, and he gets released from another crazy house. Yeah. And instead of deciding to leave well enough alone, is like, fuck, man, I gotta go dig up Jason's grave just to really make sure that he's actually dead. And then this is where we get the version of Jason that everybody knows, the immortal, unstoppable Jason, who was brought back to life by electricity. He's basically Frankenstein. I sort of kind of realized this. This is the point where he becomes Frankenstein.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying. Yeah, I think this is this the one where he's just pretty much a shambling corpse? Basically. Yeah. From this point on, he just sort of becomes a shambling corpse. Like I said, my favorite era. Frankenstein. And also, this is the point where they stop. They just straight up show him. Like they're no longer trying to hide him. So like there's I say, there's so many great. I can't remember which one.
Well, he's got the mask now, so you can actually show him. You know, it's just
there's a lot of my favorite scenes where it's like him just like opening and closing doors and like doing really mundane shit because they're not afraid to show him at this point because it's the 6th one and we know what Jason looks like.
Yeah. So the 2 important things that happen in this one that you really need to be aware of is 1, Jason's corpse gets electrocuted by parts of the fence by like acting like a lightning rod, and he becomes an immortal, unstoppable zombie god. And 2, Tommy changed Jason to a boulder at the end of the movie, and he's stuck at the bottom of the lake, but he's still very much alive.
He's trapped at the bottom of the lake. It kicks
Also, by this point, we're on the 6th one of these, and we're really questioning why these people keep trying to open a summer camp on this lake.
Right? Maybe consider not.
It just really seems like you should have learned the lesson by now.
Seems like it's not supposed to happen. That was 5.
That's part 6.
Part 6, right? So Halloween 6. This is where Halloween. So now Halloween feels the need to explain why Michael Myers kills, and because the Friday the 13th movies are a thing, it needs to be ghost and spooky related. So I'm going to do my best to explain this. First of all, first acting appearance of Paul Rudd. So in the first movie, there's a little kid character who Laurie is babysitting when they get attacked.
Wait, wait, the Paul Rudd?
The Paul Rudd, Ant-Man himself, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so he plays an adult version of the kid that he plays an adult Tommy Doyle, who is the kid that Laurie was babysitting when Michael Myers tried to kill them in the first movie. He is now an adult, and he's been severely mentally damaged by, nearly being killed. Also, people in this town, like considering like a lot of people get murdered on Halloween every couple years, are like really weirdly blasé about it. And in the like it's a slasher movie, I get it. Like people don't really have any grief when it comes to death in this universe. It's really odd. So this one begins with Jamie.
I feel that, man.
Jamie is now she looked like an adult, but according to Wikipedia is 15 and is pregnant and has given birth to a baby and is trying to escape from this druid-like cult after having been abducted by the man in black that I mentioned at the end of the previous movie. So this is all a subplot that they apparently cut out of the last movie. You're about to hear why.
And then put back into this one.
And then it came back in this one. So it turns out, Jordan, that there is a cult who worship the tell me I realized this when I was describing the third one to you. Stop me when this sounds familiar. There's a cult that they worship the god Thorn, and they want to sacrifice people on Thorn in a ritual. And they
Didn't they do this in the third one?
They did this in the third one. Yeah, I literally I didn't even realize that when I was watching it. I was like, I've just realized that now. That sounds an awful lot like the first one. So basically, it turns out that the reason why Michael Myers kills is because and it's funny because like you notice he has a pattern. He shows up, but it's not every Halloween because there's a time gap. So he's like, and then it's every 2 years, and then it's every 3 years, and it's like, dude, it's random. There's no pattern. What are you talking about? Yeah, Paul Rudd's in this. He's doing a weird accent for some reason. But anyway, sorry. It turns out that this cult has been using this curse, this mark, and they put it on Michael Myers, and it's implied that he's had it on him ever since he was a kid, and that's why he kills. And he's compelled to kill anyone he deems his family. And he, in his twisted mind, he deems anyone that lives in his house as his family. So he starts going after, or what was his old house? Because the big thing in this one is the family is living in the Michael Myers house. And so yeah, then at the end of it, I think it's this one. No, that might be the next one. No, it's not the next one, because this is the last one until anyway. So then it turns out that there's this the basically the mental hospital that Michael Myers was living in, that they have this. Basically, it's implied that the baby that his niece gave birth to is an in vitro clone of Michael Myers.
Okay, that's a choice,
right? Yeah. Then it ends. Tommy frees. They all get away, and it ends with like you not knowing what happened to Michael Myers or Dr. Loomis. And I believe this is the last one, because up until this point, the actor who played Dr. Loomis, bless his heart, has been in every one of these other than the third one. Every one that involves Michael Myers, he's right there being like, he's evil. And so, yeah. So this point, and it's also implied that this curse gives him superpowers. So it's the reason why he's invulnerable. It's the reason why he's super strong. It's the reason why he can do anything, basically.
Oh, so it's his lightning rod.
Pretty much, yeah. This is the one where they're like, well, Jason explained it, so we need to, too. And you're like, okay, that's stupid. This is stupid. This is dumb. And not in like a fun way like the Jason, but just in it's dumb way. But at least it's explaining him, I guess, to a degree. It does kind of take a bit, because the implication with Michael Myers seems to be that he's supposed to be like those old urban legends of like the Hook Man, or like, and then there was someone in the house, you know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah.
He's playing on a very real fear from 1978 of the random stranger attacking you in your home. That was a very real cult. Yeah, the Boogeyman. Yeah, that's why they call him the Boogeyman in the movie. He's constantly called the Boogeyman. Yeah.
I didn't even know he was called the Boogeyman.
Yeah, because he's playing on a very real fear. So in the original, he's more scary in that one because he's just some random psycho who decided to. It's the same thing with the minute you give him a reason, he becomes less scary. But yeah, that's the sixth one, and also like it's weird and dumb and confusing. But yeah, Paul Rudd's in it. He's doing a weird accent for some reason that he can like disappears scene to scene and comes back scene to scene. It's very odd. But it's weird because he's not funny. He's like weird and serious and creepy. It's very anti Paul Rudd. If it's nothing you would know him as, I should say.
Interesting.
But not fun. Not fun. They're not these. I'm not enjoying these movies so far.
I mean, so here's what I'll say about mine is they're fun in the moment, but they're like popcorn where it's like there's no substance to them and
No,
they're
but
forgettable.
that's not the point of them. The point of them is to have fun in the moment.
That's why I'm saying mine are enjoyable.
Mine get
for that
progressively
reason.
more gruesome and violent as they go on, and they become more unpleasant. And he's not. He unlike Art the Clown, he's not fun.
So before I talk about part 7, and this is gonna feel like a tangent, but just stick with me on this. You know how in Ocarina of Time, on the timeline, it introduces 3 separate timelines.
Yeah.
Like there's the he lives and goes back in time.
Yeah.
He yada 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 yada. This movie, at the end of this movie, my headcanon is that's what happens with the Jason movies. Each of the progressive sequels is on its own timeline.
Yeah, I can
because
see
it's
that.
it's the only way it makes sense. Otherwise, it's just a confusing mess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, especially going from the net because which one? This is the one where he fights Psychic, right?
Yeah.
This one I remember it being funny because he is otherwise completely irrelevant to this movie. You could kind of more or less cut him out of it, and it wouldn't. But like he does not that he takes away from it. It's like he shows up, he gets free, and he gets dragged right back to the place he was at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, the bottom of the lake.
Yeah, in the exact same spot. But this one's super fun. This one's super fun.
Yeah, it's him versus Psychic Girl. There's really not a lot to say.
I keep saying it's Jason versus Carrie, but that's basically what it was marketed as. It was marketed as Jason versus Carrie, and that's basically what it is.
And so the reason why I say that to me, each of the following movies follows down on a further timeline is because technically at the end of each of the movies, he dies. He can't
he's technically always dead, to be fair.
No, but I mean, like, he dies in a way where it makes no sense for him to suddenly be back where he would be.
I would say that this one to the next one so much as because doesn't he get freed from the bottom of the lake at the beginning of Jason on a boat?
Yeah, no, but that's what I'm saying is all of the following next 3 movies.
Oh,
I continue from the end of this movie.
From the end of this one. Okay. So I thought you were including this one in that. Okay, no.
No. The end of this one is the start of the 3-pronged timeline. Yeah. Is essentially what I'm saying.
I don't disagree with that because we'll get to when we talk about the next few, but I agree with that. This one's fun though. This one has like the final actions like in terms of a final girl having her like hit him with like the wires and stuff, and just their fight at the end is really fun. It again,
and he loses his mask and stuff, and he just looks disgusting, man. Awful. Like he's burnt, and his face is gross, and it's very much the reason why keep the mask on, sir, please.
Right,
keep it on.
Like it has my favorite Jason death. Well, it's hard because there's one in Jason X that I love, but the one where he kills the guy with the weed whacker. Because my thing with Jason, it's not enough that he kills you. He needs to torture you a little bit first. So like 90% of being I think I did I do this as a TikTok or as a Facebook stats where I said 90% of being Jason Voorhees is taking the time to set up your previous victims in upsetting positions. So when people open doors, it hits them in the face. Yeah, so they can find them in fun, creative places.
One of my favorite kills for Jason is in a further one, and I'll bring it up when we get to it. But he's one of those ones where it's like, I don't want to say he's silly, but like he's very 80s,
right? Well, the thing about his victims is they almost always, to a degree, deserve it, especially in the later ones. Like, they're always, like, cartoonishly awful. So, like, you don't feel bad when they get it.
Yeah, they're either cartoonishly awful. Or there's one in the remake where I was very satisfied when he died. But they're either cartoonishly awful or they're cartoonishly stupid.
Right? Right?
Which is where movies like Cabin in the Woods are then able to take, like, it's very much a parody of this.
And I think this one knows it's silly. I don't know. Jason X very much feels like a parody of Jason movies, but like my favorite, again, it's the one where he lets the guy get away, the evil psychologist. He like lets him get away, and the evil psychologist is running away, and he thinks he's safe. He's standing there, and then just Jason appears out of nowhere with a weed whacker, which like, you're not killing anyone with a weed whacker. Like, how much damage? I mean, at least I don't think you are. Maybe you are.
I honestly don't know. I
based upon what I know, I guess they do have blades technically, don't they? I suppose.
I think it depends on what kind of blade. Like, maybe back in the 80s,
they were way more like
they had more gnarly ones, because the ones that I know of, like nowadays, they have like it's a plastic.
Yeah, it's like a little plastic bit, right? I'm like, if that hit you, it would hurt like hell if it hit you in the leg. But
like
I can't imagine it killing
you. Like a heavy duty, like one that they use for like actual work and not for just home care.
Here's where
I could see being like metal, because you don't want to have to replace that plastic part every day.
Right? It's like here someone coming in the comments being like, you guys know nothing about weed whackers. Like, once it's just get 1,000 comments that are like, you don't understand the intricacies of weed whackers.
I don't have a lawn, so I have no reason to own a weed whacker.
Right.
I wish I was rich enough to have a home. But anyways,
this is my favorite Jason movie though. Like, this is it's a hard tie. It's a hard for me between this and the remake. I really like the remake, but this is, I think was my favorite when I was watching it. This was my favorite.
I'm not gonna say that I don't understand and that that's not fair, but for me, I'm always gonna have a soft spot for the pure ridiculousness of Jason X.
I mean, I just didn't love Jason on a boat. We're gonna get to Jason on a boat. No, Friday the 13th, Halloween part. Oh, we're on H2O. So now it's the 1995. This is H2O. So this is Halloween 20 years later. So this one takes place after 2, but it's after 2 because she still believes that, Michael Myers is still her brother. So this takes place after 2, but ignores the events of 4, 5, and 6. So obviously, Jordan, you spot the retcon. You notice how Laurie is alive? Or did I say Laurie's alive already? Laurie's alive again.
Oh, she died? She was one of the ones that died, right? There's a lot of deaths in these movies.
She died at the beginning, prior to the events of the fourth one, in a car accident, off screen.
Okay.
So Jamie Lee Curtis has agreed to come back for this one. So she is now alive again. Spot the retcon?
So Ripley is back.
She's not Ripley, she's Laurie Strode. But yes, she's back now.
Justin, she's this movie's version of Ripley. Come on.
So so now Michael Myers is now not a spooky ghost man. He's just a regular guy again. And she has a son. Also, I don't know if it's his first film, but it's
just shoot him in the head.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt shows up and he gets killed. Michael Myers does not have the line that Jason does. He will kill anybody. And the thing that's frustrating for me is it's never made clear as to why. Like, he'll kill some people, but he won't kill others. Like, there's no real distinction made as to why he picks who he does, which becomes frustrating when you get to later movies. But so she effectively moves away from Haddonfield and moves to California, and has taken a fake name and is hiding out, and she now has a son who's played by Josh Hartnett. And Joseph Gordon-Levitt shows up at the beginning of this movie. When he was a kid, he's still a kid at this point. He's killed by Michael Myers, who manages to find out that Laurie is where she is, and he tracks her down and, does a big old Halloween, tries to kill her, whatever. And at the end of this one, she kills him. Like, straight up, just chops off his head with an axe. So he's dead. She does a scream. That's how the movie ends. And it's in terms of like the timeline, it is Freaky Friday era Jamie Lee Curtis.
Okay.
She has the same haircut. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the reason why that character has short hair. In fact, now that I'm thinking about it, that might be the well, no, maybe not because this came out. I don't know what year Freaky Friday came out, but she had that hairstyle, that short hairstyle. So it's about then. That's the timeline. So yeah, so now Michael Myers is back and he's just a regular guy again. And well, he's dead. He's now dead. And they made one more.
He's dead until the next one when they retcon it and he's alive again.
Right? But this one I didn't mind this retcon because it was a retcon like they didn't be like, "Oh, he can regenerate his head." Like they didn't do that. They were like he's dead. And that was the big thing with Jamie Lee Curtis is she was very much like this needs to be like a definitive end. Like this needs to be the end of this franchise. I want him to be dead. And so that's why she got to cut off his head at the end. So, yeah. He, for all intents and purposes, until I speak the words about the next one, is dead.
Okay.
Next Halloween, next Michael Myers movie.
We're on part 8.
Also, this
Jason
episode's going to be
Manhattan.
like 3 hours long, just so you know. Like, there's no way it's not going to be. No, yeah, it's Jason on a boat.
We're on part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. Which is one branch of the 3-pronged timeline that was created at the end of the last movie. So in this one, electrical cable brings him back to life again. And then he ends up on a senior class cruise to Manhattan where there's a group of students and stuff, and he starts murdering and killing and murdering and killing.
Right.
Really, the only part of this movie which made me uncomfortable a little is so there's the uncle who I guess is the principal or teacher or something. I don't remember what he is, but there's a part where one of the troublemaker bad girl, who doesn't do her homework or whatever, essentially tries to blackmail him by like being in less clothes than a student should be in around her principal teacher. I don't actually remember what he was. Another one of the students is recording it, and it's, blackmail and stuff. And it's just that part I'm like, she's supposed to be like in high school. That's uncomfortable. I know graduating, but still, that's not good. But to be fair, it's played like it's not supposed to be a good thing.
I'm gonna play the clip. I'm gonna edit this into a video later, and when I do, I'm gonna put the clip in here. But there's a funny Canadian Vancouver bit in that movie, which if you're from Vancouver, you'll know it, and if you're not from Vancouver, you won't know it. But there's a bit where Jason comes out he's on the subway. And the subway that he's on is a SkyTrain in Vancouver. And he comes out...
The Expo line specifically for those who live around here.
Who live around here will know. It's the Expo line specifically. And the SkyTrain, I don't... If you're unfamiliar, is like our version of a subway, but that version of it, the trains are not connected. Like later versions of it, they are, so you can walk up and down the whole length of the train.
Yeah,
but
those versions were singular cars.
Yeah, so there's a point where he comes bursting out one of the doors into the thing to attack a person, and the door he bursts out of, he couldn't burst out of because that's not how it doesn't open. That's not how it works. And so,
I mean, it might open in emergencies. But
it does. Well, I should say it does open, but you couldn't like open it and move from car to car. That's certainly not while the train was moving. You'd get electrocuted. Like that's not how the SkyTrain works. No. And so that pulls me out of that movie immediately. In a way that's fun for me, but it just pulls me out of that movie. Also, yeah, this is the one where it ends with him getting turned into a child. He like gets doused in like goo.
He melts away with when the sewer is flooded with toxic waste, and then he's like there as a kid. But it's like, is he actually there, or is she yet again like hallucinating? Is it a real thing? Is it not a real thing? They never explain it,
Never
and they never
explain it.
acknowledge it,
But yeah, it
which is
takes
why
them.
in my head canon, that's the end of that timeline.
I mean, they also never. He doesn't really take Manhattan all that much. I think he winds up being in Manhattan for like at least at most like 15 minutes of that movie. Most of that movie is he's on the boat.
He's in it enough that it doesn't bother me, but
But there's some really
like
funny sequences of him in that.
there's some funny interactions there. Like he is fixated on killing them. He will not kill anyone else. To the point where like he's like they're running down the street and he runs and he like bumps into these hoodlums or whatever, and they're like, "Yo, man, like what the hell are you doing?" kind of thing. And he just lifts his mask, and they're like, "Whoa, man, like whoa,
So I don't have time for you right now.
we we ain't dealing with that, man. I got time for you."
He's
And
got a
Jason just
goal.
continues
I mean,
hunting.
you got to respect a goal-oriented man, you know.
But that's his adventures in Manhattan.
So, where am I now? Resurrection. Okay. So, Jordan, Resurrection. As it turns out, Jordan, Michael Myers isn't actually dead. I know I said he was dead, but Jordan, he's not actually dead. It turns out that Laurie, when she decapitated him, turns out that she didn't actually decapitate him, and that somehow Michael Myers switched clothes with him and like put his mask on him, which doesn't really make any sense because the one thing Michael Myers does not do is give away or leave behind his mask. It's like his face. It's like the one thing he cares about. Like that's it. He will not. So he would never do that. It would be out of character for him to do that. But all right, he did that. So she's sitting in an insane asylum over the guilt of the fact that she killed this innocent man. Michael shows up and they fight on the roof. She attempts to like remove his mask to confirm his identity, and he stabs her and kills her, and she's gone. And so she's on the poster. She's like she in the marketing of this is implied to be the main character, and they killed her off immediately because it's all she would agree to do. She agreed to come back for like the one scene, and that's it because she was pissed they were making a sequel. And then the rest of the movie is at that point, in the internet where they don't really know where the internet is. So it's about they're making this reality show for the internet where a bunch of people all have to stay in Michael Myers' house. And Michael Myers slowly kills them off one by one. And there's a B plot of people essentially watching it, and they can't figure out whether or not it's real or not. And
I mean, that doesn't sound so bad.
It's just an unnecessary sequel. You're like, this doesn't need to exist, and it was when you read about it, a different movie that had Halloween slapped on top of it. It's kind of similar to Saw 2 in that regard, where it's like this is very clearly a different movie that like got rewritten into being an unnecessary Halloween sequel, and it's just it's another one of those ones where you're like, it's confusing as to what it still continues to be confusing as to whether or not he's human or not. But that's it. There's not much to say about this one. The real interesting stuff comes up later.
Yeah. So you're done then?
I'm good. I've got 3 more movies than you, don't I?
I mean, I'm up to Jason Goes to Hell.
Yeah, you're on
the
9.
Final Friday.
You've got 2 more.
3 more.
I've got
12.
12. You've got 12.
This is 9.
So you've only got 1 more than me. I thought you had 2 more than me. I thought I had 2 more than you, I should say.
Anyways, this is the second prong of the timeline. Jason Goes to Hell, The Final Friday.
This movie's bad. Just immediately.
This movie,
full stop. I have a video of it, which maybe I'll put it in here when I make this again. When I make this into a video, I'll put it here. Where I basically just tore a new asshole. It's awful. Awful.
Okay. So this is the third one that I was talking about when I say he's not Jason.
No.
He is Jason
until the end when he becomes Jason.
He is Jason. He is technically Jason in this one, which is why to me, if I'm putting a scale of like best Jason to worst Jason movies, this one has to go above the one where it's a copycat killer because it is at least technically Jason Voorhees.
That is such a fair argument, but nah, man, this movie's so much worse though.
But if we're talking about my personal list, this is to me the worst one. I hate this one.
Garbage.
It's
It's
so bad.
so
It's
bad.
so bad.
Not only is
It's
it
so
not
bad.
Jason,
And
it
he's
it
not Jason.
steals a shit ton of. I don't remember it specifically. I know that this is the one where he now has a long lost niece that he needs to find, whom he has to merge
Yeah,
with
like
so
he
he can
needs
come
to.
back
Well,
to life.
he has to merge with a Voorhees because there's one point where he starts to try to do it with the baby, but
Right. And then
um,
he puts his heart inside her, and then she turns into him at the
something
end.
like that. It's stupid, man.
It's really dumb.
Um,
But like,
all
I
I
like
know
this
is
one
that
though. Is like because
in
they,
this in this in this movie, Jason's just a ghost.
yeah,
He's a
pretty much.
ghost who's possessing people.
When
And
he
so
shaves the
you
guy's
like
face before he
they
possesses him. Jason likes to
and
be
it's
clean cut.
also important to note that I believe this one is the first one that was done by Fox.
Yeah, they did a bad job.
Um,
But also,
all
like
the other
again,
ones,
we're on part
all the,
9.
all the other ones were Paramount, and then this one, yeah,
Yeah, I mean
is
to be
Fox. Well,
fair,
technically, it's technically a different, like a
yeah,
subset of
we're
Fox,
on
but
part 9, and like you got to keep it fresh somehow. But this was not it. Like I said,
but
him
I
having a
argue
long
that
not lost niece is just Halloween. I think he's got Freddy
in
powers at one point.
I I argue that in lieu of doing that, well, I mean, there's just also the fact that he's not behavior. They have set up a precedent or an idea of what Jason behaves like, and he's not behaving like Jason
I
does.
just remember there's a really annoying guy who constantly is like, I know everything about Jason, but like knows
Yeah,
stuff he shouldn't.
he's a bounty
You're
hunter.
like, where did you learn this? Show your work.
Yeah, no. So I could harp on this movie a lot. I'm not going to because we have so many others to get
Yeah,
through.
we have
But
we're pushing we're pushing 2.5, and
this
yeah,
is
we got a
bad.
lot more. Oh, it's
But
real bad. It's
this is the second prong of the timeline, which is the only one of the three timelines which does actually continue into another movie.
But I will say at the beginning of this one, I do. This is the first one where like I love it when slasher characters take or have agency and like they're just like, you know what? Let's just blow them the fuck up.
Yeah, the world has kind of, or the FBI has discovered
Yeah,
what his deal is, and they're like, yeah, no, we're just gonna like blow him up with missiles,
yeah,
man.
we're just gonna nuke them. Like I respect it. The same thing with the next one where it was like, yeah, I love it when they hit that point where they know him, they know what his deal is. It makes these movies more fun.
But that's Jason Goes to Hell.
Oh, bad movie, man. But the only thing I think also
Oh,
that
so
this one
bad.
ends. This one also ends with the stinger for. The only other good thing is it ends with the stinger of Freddy versus Jason, where like
Yeah,
that
he's stabbed with
man.
he's stabbed with with the mystical dagger, and then he's dragged into hell, and then you see, yeah, Freddy's claw come up
Yeah,
and the laugh.
that's like the
That would have been
19.
so
That
like,
would have
oh
been.
my god.
But like, can you imagine like you're sitting there watching this awful movie that's bastardizing this franchise, and then you get to the end and it's like, I'd like to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative. Like that's
Yeah,
effectively
right.
what that is. You're like, whoa, like
I feel like if you and I had watched that in the theaters like that, like
I would
and we
have
saw that,
been mind blowing.
we would have turned to each other and been like, that was a bad movie, but it might have been worth it for that stinger at the end.
I mean, we definitely wouldn't have called it a stinger, but like yeah, I know the notion of characters teaming up or crossing over is well known now, but it wasn't. It wasn't back then. That would have been a
No.
truly you would not have expected that, and I will give 1 point. That's why it doesn't get a 0. It gets a 1 because it's got two things I like. That's it. That's it. Otherwise, I hated that movie the first time I watched it. Um, where am I? I'm in the reboots. So now, Rob Zombie has taken over this franchise and he has done a reboot. And the difference between his reboot and I actually like the reboot. Well, okay, I like the reboot more than the original. However, that comes with an asterisk because this one goes into Michael's backstory. So it expands upon, you know how I said the movie opened with him stabbing the sister. It expands upon that. So you find out he has a family. His mom's a stripper. She's dating a real piece of shit. And he's got the sister. And you find out more about the sister. And it is one part like an interesting exploration into it. It almost tries to like make you sympathize with Michael because he doesn't under. It's sort of implied that he's dissociative, so that when he's doing the violent shit, he's not all there, and when he snaps out of it, he doesn't know what's going on. But it hints that he, from the beginning, he was kind of, yeah, he had a bit of psychopathy, and it explores his psychology a bit more. And it also makes like Dr. Loomis into a flawed character who like is trying to help but is also benefiting from his relationship to Michael financially by being the guy who studied the psychopath. The other thing about the original is it just kind of goes like he stabbed the sister, hard cut, 20 years later he's now killing teenagers in a neighborhood, and doesn't really explain like how he got there, because because psychology in the 1970s was just different, right? So this sort of goes into him as a deeper character. That having been said, it is really violent in a way that's like unpleasant, and that's not like fun like the Friday the 13th movies are. And characters don't. Rob Zombie wrote it, and there's a lot of moments of being like, girls don't talk like that. Like, humans don't talk like that. Have you ever spoken to a woman? Like, there's a moment early on where they're talking about how this pharmacy, whatever, is getting shut down, and the girl goes, the guy from the pharmacy was a big pervert. All he wanted to do was have sex with me. And she has this bagel, and she's like, ah. And the mom's like, stop that. That's so gross. Like, why you don't say that to your mom? It's so weird. And it's like, yeah, man, people don't talk like that. Or like, there's a moment where they're walking down the street. The girls talk like guys. Like, that's how I would describe it. Like in terms of their vulgarity of being like, I have female friends. Girls don't talk like this. Like,
that's fair.
They just don't. It's weird.
They're talking way too broific.
Yeah, pretty much. And my other thing is, the first time I watched this, and when I watched it this last time, I watched the unrated version. Comes with the trigger warning. So there's two versions of this movie. There's the theatrical cut. There's the director's cut. And in the theatrical cut, he's being transferred to another prison, and that's when he escapes. He breaks free, and that's when he escapes. In the director's cut, there's a new-ish, there's a sort of a subplot early on where Michael Myers is friends with Danny Trejo, and Danny Trejo has been taking care of him ever since he got there, since he was a kid. And so Danny Trejo has this relationship with him, and there's a new guard, and he's a fucking prick, and he invites his cousin to come, and they pull one of the inmates, the girl, out of her room, and like are gonna assault her and take her into Michael Myers' room, and they assault her in front of him, and are like trying to encourage him to also assault her. And while they're assaulting her, he kills them, and that's when he escapes. And as he's escaping, he kills Danny Trejo. In the theatrical version, the sexual assault doesn't happen. So there's a scene later on in the movie where Dr. Loomis is giving him shit for letting Michael get away, and the warden is like, are you criticizing my security measures? Are you saying that my security is no good? And it's like, yeah, man. Like, they went into his room and left the door open. Yeah, it's bad security. Whereas in the director's cut, or the theatrical cut, that line makes way more sense, because it's like, yeah, no, his indignation is fair. Like, there was 5 guys transporting him, and he managed to overcome them. Like, that's a bit, but it's a bit more believable than, like, I understand why they changed it and why they cut it, beyond the fact that it's a scene that goes on forever, and it's really disgusting.
It doesn't really add anything.
No, it doesn't add anything. It's just awful for the sake of being awful. The movie's already awful enough. And then from that point on, it just becomes a weirdly faithful shot-for-shot remake of the original movie, to the point where it's just not very interesting. Like, the only thing they keep from the second movie is now, no, actually it's not, that doesn't even happen. You still find it out in the second movie, now that I'm thinking about it. But yeah, there's the scene that he kills the friend. Oh, one more interesting thing. One of the characters is a cop, and one of his victims is her name is Annie, and the cop is played by Brad Dourif, who plays Chucky. And it's just weird to hear Chucky be a cop. And there's
That's funny.
moments where he's being sincere and like supportive that sounds sarcastic because he sounds like Chucky. It's really bizarre. But she there's a sex scene involving her and her boyfriend where the boyfriend's costume, like how he's dressed, and the dialogue is like word for word identical to the original, but just with the 2007 sheen. It's very strange. It's very odd. It's not terribly interesting. And this movie very much is like he's a man. He's a man. He's a man who can be injured. Like he can be hurt. Like he's not some sort of immortal super being. And that's the remake. I find it to be more interesting than the original, and as far as being a remake is concerned, but it's a far more vulgar experience than the original. So like I could see why the argument for why you might like the original more. It's also 2 hours. These movies as we go forward start to become 2 hours long, and that's too long. It's too long. An hour and a half, hour and 45, perfect length for these movies. None of the Friday the 13th movies are too long, in my opinion.
No, they're all like an hour and a half.
Yeah, even the ninth one, which feels like it's 2 hours long, I think is only an hour and 45.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Or hour and a half.
So third prong of our timeline split here is Jason is yet again alive. He's in government capture, and
you say split
scientist,
timeline. I don't necessarily see what does it, because this one doesn't start with him at the bottom of the lake, right? This one he's on the run, so this one could theoretically take place after the last one.
But he's alive again.
Yeah, but
that's my point.
Isn't he alive at the end of the last one? Doesn't he come back? After
no, the end of the last one. End of the last one, he ends up in hell.
Oh, right. He gets dragged to hell. Right. Yeah,
which is why I say
you're right.
Freddy versus Jason continues that timeline.
Yeah. Sorry, brain. Sorry. Continue. This is Jason X. We're talking about Jason X, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Reason why I make the joke that they're each in their own timeline is because then you don't have to explain why he's just alive again.
Yeah. That makes sense. But this one feels like I say this is the point where they realize that slasher movies. This movie is sort of why, in my opinion, why Scream exists, because this is the point where they realize slashers were silly. They weren't scary.
So what's funny is
this movie's more of an action movie than it is a horror movie. I would
this
say.
One you can I feel the influence of other movies in this one. I jokingly said this to you during the week, but I do maintain, to me, this is Jason by lieu of Alien. This is them doing an Alien.
Yeah, they're trying to do this is 2000, so they're trying to do a sci-fi spin. Yeah, well, again, it's the 10th one. You need to keep it fresh somehow, and Jason Goes to Space is the way.
And so basically the one scientist in the past is like, we need to put him on ice because that's the only way to stop him from murdering people. And then the other like military people are of course like, no, he's an immortal thing. We need to study him and figure out how he works.
Right.
And then Jason breaks loose, inevitably ends up getting frozen, and then they end up like 400 years later.
Yep.
On a spaceship.
Jason Voorhees in space.
And then of course, like, you have him. He ends up versing, and this is part of why I attribute it to Alien, is because he ends up fighting like an android robot lady.
Yes, he
just
does.
Just like the ones that are in Alien.
And then there's a kind of impressive effect for the era, at least in my opinion, where they carry around her head for the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
It doesn't look bad. At least I don't recall it looking bad.
The part that I find very funny is, so like, he's seemingly killed. Like the cyborg lady like blows him to hell. And then the nanotechnology brings him back.
It's Uber Jason.
He's got like the futuristic looking hockey mask on his face, and he's like, "Man, you thought this fucker was hard to kill before."
Yeah, Uber Jason is way more savage. He's way more brutal. He does not give a fuck.
It's great.
They've brought him back in the comics where they've had Uber Jason fight regular Jason.
It's so ridiculous in the best way. Like, to me, it's everything. This movie is everything I love about these movies.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's over the top. It makes absolutely little to no sense.
It's completely self-aware. That would be my thing. Like, my favorite kill, and it's the one where I know it's self-aware, is the one where it's the two naked ladies, and it cuts back, and they're in this. They're somehow he's gotten them
He's
in the
he's in
sleeping
the
bag, and he's just beating them to death.
Oh no! It's funny because shortly after you told me about that one, I got to that scene. Basically, in the movie, to refresh your memory, he's on essentially what is the hollow
Yeah, he's
deck
on the
from Star
hollow
Trek,
deck. Yeah.
and they're like, Jason, like, hey, do you want to have premarital
Yeah.
sex with us? And then they climb into the sleeping bags, and then it cuts away and it cuts back, and he's just beating one of them with the other. It's
Yeah.
so funny, like it's so
So
funny.
funny. It's so
Uh,
ridiculous. It's so
like
silly.
oh,
And it's okay we're laughing at it because they weren't actually real people. They were hologram
um,
people.
and so he ends up getting beaten by he's incinerated in Earth 2's atmosphere. His mask falls to the bottom of a lake, and that's why I say that's the end of that timeline. That's
Yeah.
way 400 years in the future. They don't do anything else
And
with
then the
that.
question
But that's
becomes, what do you do next, Jordan? No, wait, no, you verse Freddy.
nope.
That's why. That's what
Reverse
you do.
Freddy.
You verse Freddy. That was a big.
But,
They needed to save this franchise.
but that's it.
I
That's it
think
for Jason X.
I don't think Jason X did exceptionally well financially. I'm pretty sure it's a big old bomb.
I will tell you. Hold on, let me look. Jason X. It had a budget of 11 to 14 million.
Yeah.
And it only did a box office of 17.1 million.
Okay, it did modestly, it did okay. It didn't do great.
It wasn't great.
No, it wasn't massive hit. But it's the 10th one in a long running franchise. Like, this is the point where you're only watching these movies if you like them.
You need
Pretty
to
much.
reboot it. Is kind of the thing at this point.
Yep. Or you make a big swing and you have him versus Jason, or you have him versus Freddy.
Freddy,
you finally
yeah.
do that Freddy versus Jason movie that's been sitting in development for decades.
That you set up in 1993.
So.
Wow. So that's 10 years. It's that in development hell for 10 years.
Yeah, 10 years, yeah. So. Halloween 2. Halloween 2 is the sequel to the remake. And it is now, I don't know how long later. Laurie is severely traumatized from her experience with Michael Myers, whom she believes is dead. And there's a multiple subplots. There's a subplot involving Dr. Loomis going around trying to tour a new book and trying to rehabilitate his image because everyone hates him because they all believe that he's profiting off of people's misery, which he is. But he's become a real self-absorbed prick. Just a real. He's the. What would you know him from? I don't know what you would know him from, but anyway, he's just become a absolute real prick. And Laurie basically she discovers that she is once again in this timeline in this remake Michael Myers' sister, and that she is starting to have the same kind of psychotic tendencies that he has, where she wants to hurt and kill her friends or whatever. And the big thing with this one is you now see kind of in this universe what Michael sees. So Michael comes back and it turns out he survived being shot, and he's just become this crazed wild man. He's got this really long beard, he's lost his mask, and he sees his mom and a younger version of him, and they represent his ego and his id effectively, and they sort of explain what he's thinking. So you finally kind of get to see what Michael Myers is thinking, and he wants to, I guess, retrieve her for reasons that are never made exceptionally clear. This one also features I think this is the one where it has squeezing eyes out. They're really bloody. I'm trying to think if is there anything notable about this one. No, it ends on a really weird note of her putting on his mask and staring into the sky. That's it. That's the end of the remake. So those are the two remakes.
Okay. So at this point, we return to the second prong of the timeline after Jason goes to hell. And at this point, they have decided that Freddy and Jason exist in the same universe, in the same world. And this is kind of a sequel to both Jason and Freddy,
A little bit.
which is which is kind of cool because I believe that, yeah, continuity wise, I think this is actually canon to Freddy's movies as well.
I think it
Um,
retcons Freddy Goes to Hell, or for the final nightmare, because the final nightmare is like all the kids in all the kids in Springfield are dead because he's killed them all. So like, I think that this one does sort of exist in the continuity because it's a direct sequel to, I think, either the second, definitely the first one for sure.
yeah, I'm not familiar enough with Freddy to really know for sure. It's just it feels like it could be part.
A little bit.
Um, but so anyways, Freddy, not Freddy, yeah, Freddy Krueger. Nobody remembers him, and so he wakes Jason up, and he's like pretending to be his mom, and he's like, "Hey, go kill people on Elm Street. They've been naughty, naughty."
I need you to make them think it's me so I can come back and have enough superpowers to kill the kids.
I mean, he doesn't say that, but yes, that is the idea. And like one of the first kills in this movie is probably one of my favorite Freddy or Jason kills, where the person's on the bed
Oh,
and
he
Jason walks up,
sandwiches them. I love that one
just
too.
sandwiches him.
Just
That
absolutely
was one of my
sandwiches them.
favorites.
Yeah, I mean, Freddy's
Um,
just a fun character. Yeah, they really need to, like, my thing with Fred. Here's my note for Freddy. We'll do Freddy next year, but my note ultimately for Freddy is he's more fun when he's silly. Stop trying to make him gross. He's not fun when he's
yeah,
gross. Like when you're like he's a weird sex pest. That's not fun. I don't like the version of him where he's a pedophile.
no.
I don't want that. I want the version of him where he turns a kid into a TV and is a cartoon character. That's when that
Like
character is fun.
if he's sadistically creepy towards the adult women who are adults and are
All right.
adults, then okay, it's a horror movie. I can look the other way.
I will let that go.
Um, but no,
But I mean,
the rest of
it
it.
does take a lot from like obviously the pulling Freddy into the real world that comes from the first movie. Um,
Um, but I mean, regardless of how you feel about this movie and whether it's more of a Freddy movie or more of a Jason movie, I argue it's more of a Freddy
yeah,
movie.
he kind of does
Um,
get reduced to being Freddy's sidekick for a great deal of it.
um, I can't deny that when we finally get to the point where Freddy and Jason are fighting, that's sick, man.
That is
Like
so
that's
sick. And
it's so cool.
I think it being in the I think that came out in the year 2000. That being that
It
having
it came out in 2003.
I was close. But that's the era where, yeah, that's the era that movie belongs in. Like, to me, that's a celebration of the 1980s. In a way that's
Yeah.
more, yeah, yeah, I enjoy that movie.
Um, and the outcome is left ambiguous, as because you remember you asked me this the other day. Um,
Mm.
Jason surfaces from the lake holding Freddy's severed head, which winks and laughs.
Right. Indicating that,
So it
implying that they will forever fight forever.
so it pulls a real Godzilla versus King Kong, where both franchises were like, okay, you can use my character, but I don't want to be the one that loses.
Yeah, I mean, except for in the new one where Godzilla definitely wins.
No, but I'm talking about the original
Oh, the original. Yeah, I know.
1930 whatever.
The other, both characters had to win in some fashion.
Um,
Is that it? Is that
but
it for Freddy vs. Jason?
that's Freddy versus Jason. We got
So
one more after this.
I've got three. Um, so the year is 2018, Jordan. We are now doing. It's not a reboot. It's not a sequel. It's a requel. So now, Jordan, Laurie, you'll never guess it, Jordan. Laurie Strode. She's alive. She's alive again. And now this one ignores.
Which one was she?
She's Jamie Lee Curtis. She got killed.
Okay.
She got killed at the end of the last one.
I mean, I'm having a real hard time keeping track. First she's dead, then she's alive, then she's dead, then
Yeah,
she's alive.
you're kind of getting it, right? You're kind of getting it.
Can we just kind of just pick one?
So this one now ignores the events of the second one on. So Laurie is not Michael's brother. In fact, I think they make a reference to it where they were like, "Oh, I thought that he was your brother," and she goes, "No, he was never my brother." And he is once again just a guy. He is just a man, and I'm gonna. This is gonna be the culmination of my ultimate point, where there's a point in this movie where she's got like a rack of guns, some of which are high-powered rifles. I strongly believe that if you were to shoot him in the head with a high-powered enough rifle, his brains would explode.
I mean, if he's just a human, yeah,
Like these
get a
movies,
shotgun.
there's so many lines in this movie where she's like he's just a guy, he's just a man. Everyone thinks he's this, but then the movie I saw an interpretation of it where it's like again it continues to be frustrating of like, do you mean this metaphorically or do you mean this literally? And I saw people who have said that to them it is real, like to this town, like he seems supernatural even if he's not. Like he's just a roided out psychopath, but to them he seems like he's real, and that's what makes him supernatural. Like he isn't actually supernatural, but he just seems supernatural. He's just a really strong guy. But this one ends. I will say that I appreciated the retcon of like, oh, he managed to frame the paramedic from Resurrections, because at least that one didn't go, oh, he's capable of being shot 50 times and still walk around. So this one, it basically, it's about Laurie. She has sort of been traumatized by the events of the first movie and has spent the last. Michael Myers was captured after the events of the first movie, even though he was shot 6 times, and has been in prison for 40 years and just hasn't done anything. He hasn't spoken to anyone. He hasn't said anything. He hasn't done anything. He's just been in prison. And Laurie has been severely traumatized by the first attack and has basically become like the Michael Myers equivalent to like a doomsday prepper. She's got like this big like lair under her house with all these guns, with all these traps, so that if Michael Myers ever comes back, she can get him. And these two podcasts, somehow Michael Myers gets triggered and comes out of retirement basically and starts murdering people as a way to get to Laurie Strode to finish the job. And he is at this point 60 years old. He's a 60-year-old man who is doing some incredible things.
Does he have like super strength?
Movie never says.
Like these are he's going up against young people, right?
Yeah. At one point he's going up against, this movie wants you to believe.
Like is he like catching them by surprise and stabbing them in the back? Like,
but other times no.
Is it like
there's a scene towards the end.
If there is a physical man against man, I don't believe that a 60-year-old man is overpowering a young person.
Right? And this movie wants you to believe that he can,
unless they're in really good shape.
He can somehow overpower one guy with a knife, can somehow overpower 3 people with a gun. Like it's really weird. But to be fair, the next one does kind of explain it a bit. But
now all our old elderly fans who are over 60, who are listening to the Spur of the Moment podcast, are going to come at me and be like, "I can take you, and I'm over 60."
I mean, there's a difference though between being reasonably healthy and getting stabbed a bunch or shot. In the case, I think he gets shot twice and somehow still trucks along.
That's fair.
This one's really brutal. Oh, this is the one where he kills a kid on screen. Like it's really brutal, and it goes on for like he like honestly the most sympathetic character in this movie is there's this kid when Michael Myers escapes. There's this kid who he's in the car and he's telling his dad that he doesn't want to go. I don't want to go hunting with you anymore, Dad. I know it's a thing you love, but I love dance class. I'm missing dance class to do this. I love spending time with you. And it's just this kid who has finally gained the courage to talk to his dad about a thing that he's sensitive about. And then Michael Myers brutally murders him.
That's upsetting.
It is. It legit is. And it's like the scene goes on like it basically Michael Myers kills all these guys. And then the kid is basically like tracking him. And then he gets in the car and he thinks he's fine. And then you just see Michael Myers like appear out of nowhere and his arm comes out and he like chokes the kid. And he slowly like chokes the kid to death. And it goes on forever. And it's like you full bore see that it's like the holes on the kid's face. And it is upsetting. And that's where I said to you, I was like, that to me is more upsetting than seeing fake looking kid body parts. They're both upsetting, don't get me wrong, but for me, actually seeing a kid get brutally killed, and that happens a couple times where he kills kids brutally on screen, and it's like people were given Art the Clown shit, but he didn't cross the line of actually killing them on screen.
Yeah, it's weird where people's lines are, and I can't explain it.
Yeah, it's just I thought that was interesting. That's what made this movie interesting to me. Um, yeah. Big thing, shoot him in the head. Next movie, your final one, I believe.
Yeah, we move on to the final Friday the 13th, which is not the 13th movie, but the 12th movie, which still burns me. Um, but uh, this one is just an episode of Supernatural.
With
Um,
with
with
Jason
a,
and with
with, a,
boobs
with some boobs, a little more violence, and Jason.
and also
Um,
Jared could curse in this one. Yes, there's that summer where Jared and Jensen went off and made 2 movies. Jared
so
made
what's
this, and
funny?
Jensen made My Bloody Valentine.
What's funny about this one is the beginning part where there's the two guys that are camping with the girl. The one dude that ends up boning the chick before they get brutally murdered. Um, he's he's a character that I've seen him in a few things now, but I know him from he's on the show Superstore.
Oh yeah, I believe he's also in Transformers. I
Um,
think.
no, that's the bully. That's the boyfriend later on.
So you want to know a really funny bit of trivia about the boyfriend?
Which that also when I saw him, I was like, why do I recognize him? And I had to look it up, and I'm like, oh, he's the douchebag boyfriend that Megan
So
Fox is with at the beginning of Transformers.
so you want to know a really funny bit of trivia? So this
But that's a
movie
different character.
actually, this movie is produced by Platinum Dunes, which is Michael Bay's production company. That character in Transformers that he plays is the same character, same name and everything, Trent Boyette. So
Yeah,
technically speaking, Friday the 13th and the Michael Bay Transformers movies exist in the same universe.
interesting.
Yeah.
That's
And he gets
funny.
brutally murdered by Jason. So when you're watching Transformers, you can be rest assured he gets brutally murdered by Jason.
That's his fate. That's where he
Yeah,
ends up.
that's where he ends up.
Sam Witwicky gets the girl and saves the world, and he gets brutally murdered
Hey,
by Jason.
hey, man, he got to hook up with, how did he put it? Stupendous.
I mean, yeah, yeah.
You're always just like,
And then
man.
yeah, there's also Jared Padalecki is in this one. Who,
Yes, he
for
is.
those who know, he's just Sam Winchester.
You're gonna say Sam
Um,
Witwicky.
I was because we were talking about Transformers and you got my brain all
What's
confused.
funny about his
But
character is he's supposedly an original character, but he is. There's a character in part 3 who is just it's the same character as his in the remake, where it's he's looking for his sister who was killed by Jason.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
funny that you say that
but when you
because yeah, I
Google it, it
noticed
says
that
he's an original character, but I'm like, but he's not.
he's inspired by the other one.
Yeah, like he doesn't have the same name, I think, but it's the same story.
Um, but I do like how this one definitely like it knows that you want him in the mask and it gets him in the
Oh
mask
yeah.
in a hurry.
Also, just as far as Jason is concerned, he's just different in this one. His style and how he kills people, he's a lot more focused on setting up traps. This version
Yeah.
of him is really about trapping people.
Well, this one really leans. Like, this one is really leaning
Like
into
he's a
the fact that he's
crazy
still.
hunter.
Well, I was gonna say that he's still human in
Yeah.
this one.
Oh yeah. But this one's like they treat him as though he's like a hunter, like he's hunting them.
Yeah, well, and so like that's why his style is different than the one that later on we can kind of get to know is because he's still human here and he's thinking like a human and he's treating
Yeah.
them like a hunter would. And it's
I
yeah,
would have
it's
watched the
very.
sequel to this one. I like this one. I'm
I would have.
always
I would have. Well, they're apparently working on another one, so maybe it'll be a sequel to this one.
as okay. We're at the we're are we at the end? Are we at the end of Friday the 13th? Did you have anything further?
I don't have any much more to say.
Obviously we have to definitively rank. We're not gonna do all of them. We're just gonna do what is the best. Okay, we're gonna do 2. What is the best Friday the 13th movie? Out of all of them, we're gonna throw the first one in there as well. You're allowed to not say it's the best. What is the best Friday the 13th movie, and which is your favorite?
Oh, well. Okay. The best, I think. Pardon me. Hold pause for suspense. Um, the best I think in terms of a movie is the first one because it's the first one, so it can get away with a lot, and you don't
Fair.
know what's coming. Like
Yeah,
it's set in the past, right?
I agree.
Now if you're asking me what's the best Jason one,
No, no,
then
no.
I would
That's
probably
what
say
is
Friday.
what's the best one, and what is your favorite?
My favorite is Jason X.
Interesting.
Because that one is peak silly. It hits the like it's just so over the
Respectable.
top, and it
Respect
knows
it.
it's over the top, and it's
You know
spectacle, and
what?
it knows that it is, and I love that.
I'll allow it. What do you think is the best Jason movie?
Now, see, that's tough. Um, I'm it's very close to me. Um, it's a close battle between Friday the 13th Part 2, which is the first real movie with Jason, and the remake, which is essentially a remake of that.
I really enjoy the remake. For me, my favorite's part
I
seven.
really, I really
Uh,
like the yeah.
the
I
I
really
think
like the remake.
I agree with you. The best one's the first one. My favorite's part seven, and the worst one. I'm not even gonna bother. It's number nine. It's number nine.
Oh yeah,
Number nine.
yeah.
Like
I mean,
we're not
in
debating
terms of
that.
in
It's
terms
number
of
nine.
in terms of my least favorite, yeah, it's number 9. When it like goes to hell, it's awful. In terms of um, if the criteria is does it have Jason, then the one where it's a copycat killer
My thing
is
is my allowance for that is that at least he looks like Jason. Like so that's why
yeah,
I'm
but
like
he's not.
it counts
But
it counts
but
enough
he's
that I'm
not.
willing. Yeah, but he doesn't look like Jason in the ninth one.
Yeah, but
So
he's not.
like
But he's not Jason. He's
we
not
know.
Jason in that
But at
one.
least you get the hawk. That's why I'm like it's better than nine because at least you get to see the hockey mask and he's not just random
I don't
people.
know. I think I would put them at the same level. They're
That's
to me they're both
that's
the
why I would
worst.
dispute that. But let's finish out these Halloween movies. I got two more I got to push through. And it's the last two, and I'm gonna do them quick. So the second one is sort of takes place more or less immediately after the first one. Jason has escaped. He's disappeared.
Jason.
Not Jason. Michael Myers has escaped. He's disappeared, and the town. This one's kind of interesting because it brings back all characters from the first one. So Tommy Doyle comes back. He's now an adult, but it's not Paul Rudd this time. A bunch of characters from the original. There's a girl who she was being babysat, and they're all played by the original actors for the most part. It's kind of impressive. But they effectively have gotten together and they form an angry mob, and they decide that they're going to chase down Michael Myers. And they accidentally chase and corner because they don't know what Michael Myers looks like without a mask. There's another guy who escaped with Michael Myers that they corner, and they're so enraged that they push him over the edge. And the message of this movie is that mob violence is bad, because they at the end they managed to corner the mob manages to corner Michael Myers. And so in this one, confusingly, Laurie is like, oh no, he is actually supernatural, and every time he kills, he gets stronger. And so at the end, the mob effectively all like this is the one where like if like enough of us cornered him and we all had guns and like knives and baseball bats, we could take
He
him.
ain't getting away.
He's just a guy. And so they decide that they're going to do that, and they by the end of the movie manage to corner him, and they all try to beat him with baseball bats and like stab him and stuff. But he like gets up and fights back, and it's implied that he's healing, and he kills all of them. They all die, and then he disappears. He escapes.
So he is a spirit.
Well, that's where okay. Just trying to think. Is there anything else about the second one? The mob. Oh, yeah. There's an interesting scene where at the end where Laurie's kid like manages to like kill him and take off his mask, and she gets killed at the end. Laurie spends most of the movie in the hospital again. I'm stalling. There's something else about that second one. Nope, not coming to me. So that leads us to the third one. The third one is now Both of the granddaughter's parents are dead, and she's living with Laurie Strode, who is now decided the grandma, who's her grandma, who has now decided that she's gonna be normal now. She's like, I need to be normal, and Michael is presumed dead, and there's the movie begins with a kid named Corey, who I watched this one this morning, so it's fresh in my mind. He accidentally kills a kid when he's babysitting this kid. The kid locks him in like the attic or whatever, and he tries to like push the door open, and the kid won't let him out, and so he pushes the door as hard as he can, and the kid gets knocked back, and he falls down, and he gets killed, and it's really brutal. The kid is mangled. It's awful. And he manages to get off with involuntary manslaughter, and the judge lets him go. But everyone treats him as though he becomes a social pariah, and everyone treats him as though he murdered a kid, even though it was very clearly an accident. You're like, I saw, it's one of those movies where, because you've shown me the audience that all of the cruel treatment to this character seems unnecessary, and so he ends up connecting with the granddaughter, and they become close because she gets tired of people looking at her like she's this victim of Michael Myers, and everyone hates him because they think he killed this kid. And he gets picked on by this like group of kids or whatever who push him over this bridge, and they're like, oh yeah, you killed this kid, it's just like what you did. And it's just like what he did, or whatever. It's like, no, what he did was accidentally push some kid down some stairs. You full on tossed him over the edge into this ravine and theoretically killed him. And so then the kid finds Michael Myers, and like Michael Myers chokes him, and then him and Michael Myers like look each other in the eyes, and Michael Myers like lets him go, and then the kid kills this homeless person who's trying to attack him. And he keeps throughout the movie, it's like he's getting worse and worse, and eventually Laurie's like, oh, he's inherited Michael's darkness, but it's not made clear as to whether or not they mean in like, do you mean like like she's like, oh, when I look in his eyes, he has Michael's eyes. And it's like, again, do you mean that literally?
You mean metaphorically?
Yeah, exactly. You're starting to get it.
Literally.
Right. So it's because he keeps getting more and more like dark and like aggressive or whatever. And it eventually twisted. And he at one point, like, he's trying to getting good with Laurie Strode's granddaughter and whatever, and she has all these people who are in her life who are victimizing her. So like one of them is like this boyfriend who won't leave her alone. One of them is her boss. One of them is her coworker. And Michael Myers is in this like, he finds Michael Myers, who effectively hangs out in this cave for the whole movie, and he's injured, like he's dying, because I guess when the mob attacked him, he did get injured, and he is a man after all. And so he finds Michael Myers, and so he takes this ex-boyfriend to Michael Myers, who kills him, and him and Michael Myers like start working together. So at one point he goes and he gets another mask, and he kills Laurie's the granddaughter's boss, and Michael Myers kills the girlfriend while he watches. And he eventually shows up at Michael, like this little cave that Michael Myers is living in, and he's like, you're just an old man, you're weak, I'm the new guy. And he steals Michael Myers' mask and goes around and starts, but it's not like Michael Myers, because unlike Michael Myers, it's like targeted. So Michael Myers is random. He starts going after people in revenge. So like he kills his mom, he kills this DJ who's constantly shit talking him on the radio. He kills all these people, and he's dressed as Michael Myers. The implication being that he will now be new Michael Myers. That he basically, because remember how earlier, and this is my issue with this movie, is it wants to treat the shape or what Michael Myers is. When I say Michael Myers, what do you picture?
Isn't he the dude with the white mask and the black hair and the...
Exactly, right, that's my point. So that's what you picture. You don't, if I said the shape, you wouldn't think of Halloween, right? So, but this movie wants to treat the shape, and that Max alluded to it earlier, where he said there's a theory that he is being possessed by a demon when he kills, and he has no control over it. And it's something, and that's why the earlier movies, in our little retrospective, did like he's being possessed by magic, because otherwise it doesn't. But so he puts on the mask and he starts killing people as the Shape, so as Michael Myers, so people think he's Michael Myers. But then he eventually goes to the final person on his list, because Laurie is trying to convince. He's like, oh, every time I look at him, I see evil. I see Michael Myers' eyes. And the mom, the guy's mom is like, or someone at one point says, was he always like this, or did the town do this to him? And it was like the town did this to him. It was an accident. He accidentally killed his kid. He didn't intentionally do it, and you all treated him like he was a murderer. Yeah, you did this. Like you absolutely did this,
and drove him crazy.
Pretty much, yeah. You treated him like shit and drove him to be an isolated pariah. So yeah, you did do this. Like maybe if the movie had made it unclear as to whether or not, because at one point like, oh, you got mad and you intentionally killed him, but no, I saw what happened. That's not what happened. Maybe if they had made it more ambiguous, then I'd be like, okay, but no, it was very clear. Like, and so the dad of the kid who gets killed is like, yeah, the kid who like mowed my lawn and who I hired would never do that. But like the guy who I saw walking down the street, that's not him. Implying that like he's getting Michael's superpowers. So like there's a point where he jumps off the roof from like a high height and doesn't get hurt, like when he's not wearing a mask. And then there's a point later on where like he gets shot. Like Laurie shoots him. And he's just sitting there, and he's fine. He's alive. And then he stabs himself in the throat to like frame Laurie for murdering him. And he gets up like he's fine. So I'm like, so what? It's like, is the implication that like
he made a deal with the devil?
Well, yeah, it's like, is the implication that like the mask gives him powers? Like, I don't. It's so undefined and confusing. And then finally, oh, and the big thing with the last one is it teased like this one, Halloween Ends, is going to be like a big final showdown between Laurie and Michael. Like it's the big final, and so that's why it being mostly about this guy is really weird. So finally, Michael shows up and kills the kid, and he looks over at Laurie and kind of like a funny like, sorry, that's my bad. I kind of set him up to do this. That's totally my B, y'all. And, never let it be said that Michael Myers doesn't fix his messes. He cleans up his messes. That's all I'm saying. And then, then there's a bunch of, like, there's this big, long fight sequence where she, like, stakes him to a table with butcher's knives and finally, like, slits his throat and kills him. And they have his body. And they're like, he's dead, but we need to, like, make sure he's dead. And so they put him through a shredder. And definitively so. As of right now, that's the final Halloween movie. There's not been another one since. That was all 13 Halloween movies. We did it, Jordan. We made it to the end. So I suppose I gotta rank mine now, don't I?
Yes, you do.
Okay, my favorite Halloween movie is probably the remake. I that's the one that's the most interesting to me. The theatrical cut, not the director's cut. The one I think is the best is probably
the best one.
Probably the first one. That's the first one. Probably the best one. Because it's simple. It's simple. It's easy. There's nothing too complicated. We're not concerned with why Michael Myers is the way he is. And the worst one is probably the third one, because it doesn't. If the metric is has Michael Myers in it, doesn't have Michael Myers in it. But that's
pretty damning.
That's it. Okay, so my question is, Jordan, because my movies got brutal. Like they got brutal. Like there's a couple of like I say in this one they have another, like he squeezes people's eyes out. There's some brutal kills in this that made me go ooh. Would you bring back Jason, but we bring him up closer to Art the Clown? Maybe he doesn't have to necessarily be Art the Clown, but like he gets to that level of violence. I would watch that.
No. That's not what makes those movies fun.
Yeah.
What makes those movies fun is the ridiculous over the topness, not the gratuity. If you make it just the gratuity, no, then it's just Art the Clown. No. No,
I
hard
mean,
no, hard pass.
fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. But that's it. That is iconic
There
slasher
are other
villains.
my thing is that there are other ones that you could do that with. You could do that with Freddy. You
Yeah.
could do that with Michael Myers. No, not with Jason.
Don't touch my Jason. So Jordan, I did say that this we would have a definitive winner of who is better, um, Michael Myers or Jason. Friday the 13th movies or the Halloween movies. It's the Friday the 13th movies. It's no contest. I like those movies way more. They're way more fun. They're way more entertaining. They're way less frustrating and confusing. There's no question of how Jason is surviving these things. They explain it thoroughly. There's only one bad one of these. I guess I could have said that. Okay, if I have to pick a bad Michael one, it's probably the sixth one. That movie's incoherent nonsense. But it's Friday the 13th. Those are better. That's it. Next year, we'll stack the Nightmare on Elm Street movies in there, and maybe I'll watch the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies because I've never seen those. So that's next year though. Next week, it's time for the assignment and the finale of the Spur parentheses or the Spook parentheses E of the Moment podcast. We're finally doing the family friendly stuff.
Ooh.
It's nice. It's gonna be a nice relaxing week for us because we're busy, very busy this week.
It'll be a palate cleanser for the audience
It's gonna be a nice palate cleanser. That's why I chose to do it last because I knew it was gonna be a nice, easy way to end the month. We're gonna do the family friendly stuff. The caveat being though that it has to be as related to Halloween as possible. So Halloween has to be featured in it in some capacity.
Sorry, I just noticed. Haley Marcus said Halloween Ends isn't that bad. Actually, I was pleasantly surprised.
I thought the notion of like seeing someone become a Michael Myers was interesting until the end when he gets killed, and the notion where you're like, oh, he might become the new Michael Myers, but it was kind of interesting. I just didn't think it was. My thing with Michael Myers, I have a hard time enjoying those movies because they're so insistent that he's just a guy. If they weren't insistent that he was just a regular guy, I wouldn't be so hung up on it. Like, I don't know. But by that same token, the supernatural stuff is not well. Anyway. Next week, family friendly stuff. Has to be Halloween related in some way. Has to feature Halloween. I want to see some Halloween specials. I want to see Garfield. I'm probably going to talk about the Halloween tree. I don't know if anyone's seen the Halloween tree.
I'm probably gonna watch at least one or two of the Halloween Town movies.
If Haley's still around, yeah, I have to watch Hocus Pocus for next week. That's got to happen. I'm doing that for her show. But beyond that, I think that's the end of the show, Jordan. We did it. We made it to the end.
We made it.
It's the end of the show. Jordan.
Woo!
Jordan, where can the people find you?
I do Minecraft Mondays on Zethgore187 on Twitch. I do this on the weekends. And other than that, you can reach me in our Discord if you want.
You can, yes. You can follow us on Discord. I try to keep the link updated. It expires every 7 days. If it's not, the link is not fresh, go to our newest video, and it'll probably be fresh there. You can find us on TikTok. We're a Spur of the Moment P. I post all kinds of clips. I post our long form YouTube videos. Watch a long form YouTube video. Give one of them a like. Check out our latest video on Art the Clown and the No Good Very Bad Parents. That was a harrowing ordeal. Go check that out. That's pretty fun. You can email the show if you'd like. It's justinsbusiness@gmail.com. You can find me solo. I'm on TikTok. I do this but shorter and more varied. You can, if you want to be on the show, I'm going to try to include the Google form. I haven't actually checked it to see if anyone's put in anything on there, but you could just fill out that little Google Doc and we can get you on the show and maybe you can talk about some Michael Myers or Jason movies or something. We'll pick a topic for you.
Or Hocus Pocus.
But we will take anyone. If you want to come hang out for us for a couple hours and talk, or 3 hours in this case, and talk about movies, come join us. We will have you. But with that, that's the end of the show. Have a good day, everybody.
Bye.